Welcome to AI Otaku Studio. Like, subscribe, and enjoy this video. Chapter 26, The Triumphant Yu Yuanjun and the Despondent Yu Yuanjun. Hahaha, good, excellent. Xiaogang, you truly are worthy of being my Yu Yuanjun's son. Yu Yuanjun's laughter echoed continuously throughout the room. His flushed face proved just how excited he was right now. He couldn't help but be excited. As a titled Douluo, he was in existence standing at the peak of the Douluo continent. At this stage, the strength of titled Douluos like Yu Yuanjun had basically reached its limit, so what they cared about were other things. For example, their sect or their family members. Or for instance, their own face. In the past, Yu Yuanjun, as the sole titled Douluo of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, one of the upper three sects, possessed the world's #1 beast spirit, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. No matter where he went, he was revered and admired by everyone. However, with the birth of Yu Xiaogang, all of this began to change. Among the gazes of those who once revered and admired him, some doubt began to creep in. In the eyes of those who flattered him, there was also a hint of subtle sarcasm. Even within his own family, Yu Yuanjun could hear the clansmen whispering about him. Although Yu Yuanjun was infuriated by these looks, he was helpless to do anything about them. It wasn't as if he could just step forward and kill everyone, right? As for strictly forbidding such talk, it was impossible to stop. In fact, the more Yu Yuanjun tried to ban it, the more heated the discussions became. Eventually, Yu Yuanjun even grew somewhat accustomed to it all. And with Yu Xiaogang's martial soul awakening, the gossip and looks from these people intensified significantly. Why did Yu Yuanjun apply for genius treatment for Yu Xiaogang? Besides Yu Xiaogang's own determination to become stronger, it was also because Yu Yuanjun wanted Yu Xiaogang to grow up and use his results to thoroughly slap those people in the face. And now, before Yu Xiaogang had even been cultivating for long, he had produced something unprecedented on the Douluo continent that could increase the age limit for obtaining spirit rings. With such wisdom and such ability, I ask you, what face do you have left to mock my son? Mocking his talent. If you're so capable, then don't use whale glue to increase the age limit of the spirit rings you can obtain. Thinking of this, Yu Yuanjun looked toward the several elders present. Hahaha, how about it, elders? Can we give Xiaogang appropriate treatment now? Based on this discovery alone, let alone genius treatment, it wouldn't be excessive for my son Yu Xiaogang to enjoy the treatment of a spirit saint or a spirit Douluo. Yu Yuanjun held his head high, looking at the group of elders with a triumphant expression. Refreshing, it was simply too refreshing. Look, this is my son, the son of me, Yu Yuanjun. Even if his talent is poor, he can discover something sufficient to change their entire Douluo continent. Based on this alone, my son is worthy of being remembered by the entire Douluo continent. Do any of you have a son like this? Hahaha, no, not a single one. So what if your sons and grandsons are spirit emperors or spirit saints? In the future history of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, their names will be mere grains of sand, while my son's name will shine like a gemstone. Black World, Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Looking at the triumphant Yu Yuanjun on the heavenly curtain, the group of elders in the room felt as if they couldn't bear to watch. They turned their gazes toward Yu Yuanjun, only to find that he was staring blankly at the heavenly curtain, as if he had lost his soul. As another Yu Yuanjun, if there was anyone who could best understand the feelings of the Yu Yuanjun on the heavenly curtain at this moment, it was definitely him. He too had once endured the ridicule of others because of his son, Yu Xiaogang. So he knew very well what kind of feeling that was. As a titled Douluo, Yu Yuanjun cared deeply about his face. But unfortunately, because of Yu Xiaogang, Yu Yuanjun had lost all the face he had in this lifetime. Back then, he had fantasized countless times that when Yu Xiaogang underwent his martial soul awakening, it would have been wonderful if he could have awakened a better spirit and a higher innate soul power. Or perhaps Yu Xiaogang would defy heaven and change his fate, becoming a powerhouse with only half a rank of innate spirit power, slapping the faces of everyone who mocked him. At the very least, if Yu Xiaogang couldn't achieve anything as a spirit master, achieving something in other areas to prove himself would have been fine too. But there was nothing, absolutely nothing, even regarding Yu Xiaogang's title of Grandmaster that was spread by the outside world. Others might not know the truth, but how could people from major powers like them not know? He simply organized some basic knowledge that everyone on the Douluo continent already knew and published it, calling it his masterpiece. He learned knowledge from the family's library that various major powers were unwilling to make public. Then he publicized it and became a grandmaster. Instead of regaining face for himself, these actions of his only caused him to lose even more face. Therefore, seeing that Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang on the heavenly curtain discover something like whale glue, which had a heaven-defying effect that no one had ever known about, Yu Yuanzhen was already filled with bitterness. Bringing such a thing to light was what could truly help a person earn a reputation that would be remembered by everyone. An achievement that would make everyone sincerely call him a grandmaster. Sai, why couldn't my son be the Xiaogang on the heavenly curtain instead of this so-called grandmaster? Yu Yuanzhen muttered to himself, his voice actually carrying a hint of a sob. The sharp-eared elders nearby naturally heard Yu Yuanzhen's subconscious muttering. They glanced at each other and remained silent. At a time like this, it was better not to discourage Yu Yuanzhen. At the same time, however, they were also envious of their counterparts on the heavenly curtain. Indeed, why wasn't that Dragon God Douluo from their world? The video continued. Yu Yuanzhen's pride and his smile in the eyes of the group of elders made them very annoyed, yet they had no way to refute him. In a spirit master's cultivation, obtaining spirit rings is of vital importance. It could be said that the quality of the spirit rings obtained determines a spirit master's future. Why is it that sometimes, between spirit masters with similar spirits and of the same rank, there exists a gap as wide as the heavens and the earth? This is because the difference in the age of their spirit rings is too great. Therefore, when obtaining a spirit ring, which spirit master wouldn't try their best to obtain a spirit ring at their absolute limit? On the current Douluo continent, the maximum age for obtaining a first soul ring is over 400 years, and for the second spirit ring, it is over 700 years. However, whale glue alone directly allows this age limit to greatly break the existing records. Looking at the experimental records, the talent of that spirit master named Wang Dachui wasn't very good. He only obtained his first soul ring at the age of 16 or 17. A spirit ring of 200 or 300 years would basically have been his limit. After consuming the whale glue, he was actually able to obtain a spirit ring of around 550 years, which is higher than the age of the first soul ring of every titled Douluo on the current Douluo continent. Furthermore, judging from the absorption process, this was not even his limit. Doesn't this mean that for his first soul ring, he could obtain a 600-year spirit ring? When it comes to the second spirit ring, wouldn't he be able to directly obtain a 900-year spirit ring? If it's like this for a commoner soul master, what about the spirit masters of their great families? A 700-year first soul ring and a 1,000-year second spirit ring directly. At the thought that the family's future spirit masters could directly obtain a 1,000-year second spirit ring, the group of elders felt a sense of breathlessness. If they could have such a future, how glorious would the future of their Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect be? Chapter 27, Treatment Equivalent to a Spirit Douluo. Xiaogang, are you sure everything written here is true, and not something you just made up? The second elder pointed at the documents, looking at Yu Xiaogang with a face full of anticipation. Based on the level of detail in the documents, all the elders felt that this shouldn't be fabricated. But they couldn't believe it. They dared not believe that such a significant discovery was actually made by Yu Xiaogang, a child only 6 years old. Could it be that Yi Hengchuan discovered it, and to make your life easier, credited the achievement to you? The third elder, who was standing to the side, suddenly spoke up. All of you shut up. Is my son the kind of person who would talk nonsense? Just because you couldn't discover the secret of whale glue yourselves, you think my son Xiaogang couldn't either? How does that saying go? Strength of ability has nothing to do with age. I think you're just jealous that your own abilities aren't as good as my son's. As soon as the third elder finished speaking, Yu Yuanzhen's eyes widened as he retorted. In Yu Yuanzhen's heart right now, Yu Xiaogang was the image of a model son. No one was allowed to speak ill of him. Uncle Yi assisted with the experimental process, and he also helped me mobilize manpower and resources. But I was the one leading the experiment. Yu Xiaogang spoke up without any hint of stage fright. Normally, Yu Xiaogang would definitely share more of the credit with Yi Hengquan, but not now. He had to prove his ability to everyone. After all, this concerned his own face and that of his father, Yu Yuanzhen, as well as his future applications for resources. Good, as long as it's you. I truly didn't expect that while the heavens didn't give you, Xiaogang, enough talent, they gave you sufficient wisdom. Haha, Whale Glue, with this discovery, the clansmen of our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect will grow stronger and stronger from now on. Sooner or later, our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect will become the head of the upper three sects. The Grand Elder fantasized about the future with a look of pure delight. At this moment, it was as if he could already see the future, where the sect became the leader of the upper three sects. Elder, since Xiaogang has made this discovery, then the corresponding treatment should also follow, right? Yu Yuanzhen spoke up to remind them. Yes, that is only natural. This time, it was the second elder who spoke. After spending some time together, Yu Xiaogang had gained some understanding of the family's elders. The Grand Elder assisted his father in managing the family. What he cared about most was the sect. As long as something brought benefits to the sect, it would get a green light from him. The second elder was more rigid, often handling matters with a strictly business-like attitude. That was why he had been the one to step forward and explain everything to Yu Xiaogang earlier. As for the third elder, although he also cared for the family, he was somewhat selfish. At this moment, the Grand Elder's eyes were practically glued to those documents. One hardly needed to think to know what choice he would make. The second elder always acted with a business-like posture, but it was precisely this attitude that made Yu Xiaogang feel most at ease. As for the third elder, Yu Xiaogang glanced at the third elder, who was staring at the documents with a somewhat resentful expression. Although he didn't know where the resentment came from, it didn't matter. With the Grand Elder and second elder on his side, it wouldn't matter how much the third elder alone opposed it. Sure enough. Xiaogang, the things I said earlier might have been a bit harsh, don't take them to heart. The second elder said with a face full of sincerity. At that time, we didn't know you could make such a contribution to the sect, so we didn't agree to the treatment your father applied for on your behalf. But things are different now. You have proven your ability to the family, so the family will naturally give you the corresponding treatment. Based on the information about Whale Glue you contributed, the family's future is limitless. This brings more to the family than you awakening with full innate soul power ever could. According to my thoughts, we should directly give you treatment equivalent to a spirit Douluo of the family. The second elder directly stated his thoughts. From the family's perspective, he even felt this reward was a bit low. Spirit Douluo treatment, to a child with rank 1 innate soul power, have you gone mad? The third elder looked at the second elder in disbelief, unable to believe these words came from his mouth. Spirit Douluo treatment. How many Spirit Douluos were there in the entire Douluo continent? In the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, only a few elders like them were Spirit Douluos. Giving Yu Xiaogang Spirit Douluo treatment, wouldn't that directly give him a status equal to our own? What do you mean I've gone mad? I've already toned down the reward. Logically speaking, I should have given Xiaogang the treatment of a titled Douluo. It's just a pity his talent is still too poor, so I lowered it by 1 rank. The second elder frowned, looking at the third elder with displeasure. As the most impartial elder in the family, he didn't much like hearing others question his words. I also approve of this plan. Xiaogang should be given Spirit Douluo treatment. The Grand Elder, whose eyes had been glued to the documents, finally looked up. He glanced at the third elder and then walked over to Yu Xiaogang with a smile. A large hand rested on Yu Xiaogang's head. Yu Xiaogang shook his head but couldn't shake it off, so he could only look at the Grand Elder helplessly. The Grand Elder chuckled at Yu Xiaogang's reaction and then continued. The appearance of whale glue will directly overturn the original rules for obtaining spirit ring age limits. A 500-year first soul ring, a 900-year second soul ring, or even a 700-year first soul ring and a 1,000-year second soul ring. A 1,000-year second soul ring. I believe all of us here, who are at least spirit Douluos, should know the significance of this. The third elder fell silent. If the second soul ring can reach 1,000 years, then the third soul ring can attempt 5,000 years, and the fourth spirit ring can attempt 10,000 years. A 1,000-year second soul ring, a 10,000-year fourth spirit ring. I won't say any high-sounding nonsense. I'll just ask you to put yourselves in those shoes. If we had changed our configurations to this back then, what rank would we be today? No one spoke, but the same rank surfaced in the minds of both the second and third elders. That was the highest rank a spirit master pursues in their lifetime, titled Douluo. If we had whale glue when we were cultivating back then today, every single one of us could have become a titled Douluo. At least 4 Douluos in one sect. Speaking to this point, there was regret in the Grand Elder's eyes, but also anticipation. Although our generation cannot realize this vision, our sect can achieve all of this in the future. Now, do you still think giving Xiaogang the treatment of a spirit Douluo is excessive? Chapter 28, Grandmaster, Why Acknowledge Him but Not Me? Beneath the heavenly curtain, the words of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect's Grand Elder caused everyone to nod in agreement, especially the high-ranking members of the major powers. Black World 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. If someone in our sect discovered whale glue, I would give them the treatment of a titled Douluo immediately. Enning Fengzhai looked at the bone Douluo and saw Douluo beside him and spoke with a smile. In his heart, such a major discovery could not be rewarded enough. He not only wanted to give rewards, but also wanted everyone to see what those who contributed to his 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School could receive. Only in this way could the sect develop better. Of course, while he said the treatment of a titled Douluo, it wouldn't be on the level of the Sword Douluo or Bone Douluo. Those two were the guardian Douluos of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Even if an ordinary titled Douluo joined the school, they couldn't hope to compare with them. For a discovery that can increase the sect's foundation, no reward is too much. Not every elder of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect possesses foresight. The Bone Douluo glanced disdainfully at the third elder of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect within the heavenly curtain. As long as the sect has more people with foresight, it's fine. I just fear there are more people like that one. That would be disastrous. The Sword Douluo shook his head. Speaking of which, if the second spirit ring is a 1,000-year one, and the fourth is a 10,000-year one, then by extension, the 9th spirit ring will surely be able to withstand a 100,000-year spirit ring. Could it be that the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain is titled the Dragon God in the future because he obtained a 100,000-year spirit ring? The Sword Douluo's sudden shift in topic caused the Bone Douluo beside him to ponder with interest. It's very likely, based on this progress, his 9th spirit ring will definitely be able to withstand a 100,000-year one. Given how much that old dragon cares for his son, it wouldn't be strange for him to exhaust all efforts to get his son a 100,000-year spirit ring. Hiss, in that case, with a 100,000-year spirit ring and a 100,000-year spirit bone, there really wouldn't be many people in the entire Douluo continent who could defeat such a titled Douluo. The Bone Douluo sucked in a breath of cold air. He now understood why that Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain could so arrogantly use Dragon God as his title and still keep it. Shrek Academy. The treatment of a spirit Douluo. Grandmaster Yu Xiaogang watched the heavenly curtain with a pale face as the Grand Elder and Second Elder of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect agreed that the Dragon God Douluo in the curtain should enjoy the treatment of a spirit Douluo. Recalling his own past, every time the Grand Elder saw him, it was either with a face full of disdain or eyes full of resentment. In short, the Grandmaster had never seen a positive expression on that man's face. The Second Elder was one of the people the Grandmaster had been most annoyed by and hated most back then. Because from him, the Grandmaster never felt a shred of human warmth. The way the man looked at him was as if he were looking at a piece of worthless cargo. This was the first time he realized that the Grand Elder's eyes, usually full of disdain, could also be kind and amiable. The second elder, who was always strictly business and beyond reproach, could also do something like apologize to a child. But why was it that the one experiencing these things was the self from another world? Where exactly was he better than me? Isn't the me in the parallel world still just a trash right now? He only researched a little something. But I have also conducted numerous studies and published many theories. I am even called the Grandmaster by people. In front of me, that kid's theories are completely not worth mentioning. Why did the elders acknowledge him but not me? Could it be that the elders in the parallel world are different, which is why their attitudes are so vastly different? Yes, it must be so. There must be a difference between the elders of the two worlds. The elders in my world are the extremely strict type, while the elders in the parallel world are much more lenient. Only this makes sense, why we both have achievements in theory, and mine are even higher, yet I can never gain recognition. It must be that. Yu Xiaogang's eyes were bloodshot, and he panted incessantly. No matter what, he would not accept that he was inferior to a mere 6-year-old child. Even if that child was himself from a parallel world. Flender, watching Yu Xiaogang tremble with excitement, wanted to step forward to comfort him. But at the thought that he couldn't make money through whale glue because of the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain, he suppressed those thoughts. He was truly afraid that if he didn't restrain himself, he might kill his good brother with one punch. After all, that was all his money. The video continues. The successive statements from the Grand Elder and Second Elder left the Third Elder with nothing to say. Yu Yuanjun, feeling refreshed, stepped forward. Then it's decided, we will give Xiaogang the equivalent treatment of a spirit Douluo, hahaha. By the end, Yu Yuanjun couldn't help but laugh out loud. Originally, his attempt to apply for the treatment of a genius for his son had met with heavy resistance. But his son was capable and had earned himself the treatment of a spirit Douluo. With such a son, how could he not be happy? However, there is one thing I must clarify in advance. At this moment, the Second Elder stepped forward again. Regarding Xiaogang having the treatment of a spirit Douluo, we cannot explain the reason to the outside world, not even to members of the family. As soon as the Second Elder spoke, Yu Yuanjun frowned. It wasn't that he didn't understand the significance of the Second Elder's actions. On the contrary, before the Second Elder even finished, he already knew his thoughts. Whale glue isn't exactly expensive, but it's not cheap either. Those who can afford whale glue are generally nobles from various places. Next, a Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect will definitely buy up whale glue from the entire Douluo continent market on a large scale. This must be done in secret. We cannot let people drive up the price of whale glue, and we certainly cannot let outsiders know its effects. So Xiaogang, we will give you your treatment, but you cannot tell anyone how this treatment came about. Do you understand? The Second Elder's words were somewhat serious, but Yu Xiaogang understood his sentiment. If it were him, he would likely do something similar. I understand, I won't say a word. But in that case, how will Xiaogang establish himself within the sect? Yu Yuanjun stared directly at the Second Elder. He didn't believe the other man hadn't considered how the clansmen would gossip about Xiaogang if he were given this treatment without disclosing the reason. How about this? Record Xiaogang's consumption under your name, Sect Master. Just say you've had some recent insights and need more resources. If the Sect Master needs them, they can't really say anything, can they? After a moment of silence, the Grand Elder finally made the final decision. With this, the problem of Yu Xiaogang's future cultivation resources was resolved. And taking this opportunity, Yu Xiaogang's status in the hearts of the elders rose rapidly. He was no longer that dull or untalented child from before, but a child of considerable wisdom. Chapter 29, The Real Use of the Separate Beast Spirit. Now that the issue of how to carry out the heaven-defying act of changing fate has been resolved, the next step is naturally to cultivate. After all, no matter how many ideas one has, one's rank must increase. Thus, Yu Xiaogang's daily routine once again became cultivating, studying, and cultivating. During this time, the elders were as good as their word. Having promised him the treatment of a spirit Douluo, they delivered the resources directly the very next day. They didn't let Yu Xiaogang worry about it at all. On another early morning, Yu Xiaogang, having woken up early, went to the peak of the family's back mountain. Bathing in the newly risen sunlight, he meditated continuously to refine his spirit power. Hugh. Exhaling a long breath, Yu Xiaogang opened his eyes. Sensing his spirit power, which had barely increased at all, he immediately frowned. Too slow. More than a month had passed since his martial soul awakening, and during this time, he had never slackened in his cultivation. Even while conducting the whale glue experiments, his cultivation had continued. But the spirit power in his body, which had shown almost no growth, once again told Yu Xiaogang just how poor his talent was. The golden age for a spirit master's cultivation is between the ages of 6 and 20. At this rate, I'm afraid I won't even reach rank 10 until I'm in my teens. With this kind of progress, my golden cultivation years will all be wasted. Yu Xiaogang felt unwilling. If he missed the golden cultivation age, his subsequent improvement speed would be even slower. Just as Yu Xiaogang was worrying about his cultivation speed, the little dragon came hopping to his side, carrying a stone in its mouth. Its large eyes gazed at Yu Xiaogang, and when he reached out his hand, the little dragon finally placed the stone it was carrying into his palm. It was a stone shaped like a chicken leg. Looking at the stone, Yu Xiaogang shook his head and laughed. You're such a glutton. Stroking the little dragon's head, Yu Xiaogang felt emotional. This spirit of his was much smarter than the pets he had raised in his past life. After all, the little dragon was also a part of himself. But speaking of which, although the little dragon is a part of me, it has its own consciousness. What's the deal with its consciousness? Is it another me? Yu Xiaogang thought to himself. The moment he thought of this, he suddenly froze. Another me. Yu Xiaogang instinctively glanced at the little dragon, and many thoughts flashed quickly through his mind. However, no matter how much he thought, it wasn't as good as actually putting it into practice. So picking up the little dragon, Yu Xiaogang looked directly into its eyes. Little dragon, you should be able to understand my words, right? Nod if you understand. Hearing this, the little dragon nodded. Very good, now then little dragon, do as I say. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Yu Xiaogang began to explain the meditation method for cultivation to the little dragon. Fearing at first that the little dragon wouldn't understand, Yu Xiaogang explained the most basic and simplest meditation method to it. To Yu Xiaogang's surprise, the little dragon easily understood the meditation method he explained. After finishing the explanation, Yu Xiaogang told the little dragon to cultivate according to the meditation method. And the little dragon actually began to cultivate. Watching the little dragon meditating with its eyes closed, Yu Xiaogang couldn't even be bothered with his own cultivation. He stayed by the little dragon's side, quietly waiting for the results of its cultivation. 2 hours passed quickly in this atmosphere of one dragon cultivating and one person watching. When the little dragon opened its eyes again, Yu Xiaogang impatiently rubbed its head and then recalled it into his body. In an instant, Yu Xiaogang felt a tiny bit of growth in the spirit power within his body. Although it was only a tiny bit, its significance was completely different from the growth he gained through his own cultivation. The little dragon can actually cultivate and increase my spirit power as well. This means that for the same amount of time spent cultivating, my results will be double those of others. I never expected it, truly never expected it. A separate beast spirit actually has such a heaven-defying effect. Black World, Shrek Academy. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words from the heavenly curtain, the Grandmaster stood frozen on the spot with a dull gaze. Luo Sanpao can cultivate. Luo Sanpao can actually cultivate too. Why had he never thought of letting Luo Sanpao try to cultivate? After being dazed for a long while, the Grandmaster's mind was in a state of chaos, and his body began to sway. Flender, seeing the Grandmaster's state, hurried forward to support him. Xiaogang, are you all right? I'm fine, come out, Liu Sanpo. The Grandmaster waved his hand, then ignoring Flender, he directly summoned Liu Sanpo. Liu Sanpo appeared beside the Grandmaster with a look of confusion, only to see the Grandmaster rush forward and say, Liu Sanpo, hurry up and cultivate just like I usually do, quick, hurry up and cultivate. The Grandmaster urged urgently, but unfortunately, Liu Sanpo had no idea how to cultivate and could only stand there in a daze. Flender, seeing his good friend's anxious state, gave him a reminder, which finally made the Grandmaster realize. Right, I have to teach it. Thus, the Grandmaster began to carefully teach Liu Sanpo how to meditate and how to cultivate. During this time, everyone was watching the Grandmaster. Once the Grandmaster finished teaching, Liu Sanpo also began to meditate with its eyes closed, just like the little dragon. Throughout this, the Grandmaster stayed by Liu Sanpo's side with a face full of anticipation, praying in his heart that Liu Sanpo cultivation could help him break through his bottleneck. Time passed minute by minute, and soon, 2 hours had gone by. As soon as the time was up, the Grandmaster impatiently terminated Liu Sanpo cultivation and recalled it into his body. However, when Liu Sanpo returned, the Grandmaster's expression froze for a moment. Then, with a sway of his body, he slumped to the ground. Why won't it work? The Grandmaster murmured to himself, looking lost and dejected. Liu Sanpo had cultivated for 2 hours, but when the Grandmaster recalled it into his body, there wasn't the slightest fluctuation in the spirit power within him. Not even a trace, however imperceptible. It was just like the result of every attempt at meditation he had made over the years using methods he thought were suitable. The gate to rank 30 still stood before him, preventing him from making any progress. Why treat me like this? Why wasn't I the one to discover early on that Liu Sanpo could cultivate? The Grandmaster stared at Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain, who was exceptionally happy because he had discovered that the little dragon could cultivate with him. In the Grandmaster's eyes, resentment and jealousy were impossible to suppress. Why were all these things discovered by the version of himself in the parallel world, especially when that person discovered them at the very beginning of his cultivation? These discoveries truly could have played a massive role in his future. Why wasn't it him who discovered these things? If he had, the one to become the Dragon God Douluo would have been him. Chapter 30, Kaian Dailiu, a martial soul hatting school. That's a very niche way to put it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. Tang San and the others watched the Grandmaster's despondent appearance. They wanted to comfort the Grandmaster, but didn't know how to speak. After all, they all knew that the Grandmaster's not in his heart for so many years lay right there. Watching Yu Xiaogang's development in the heavenly curtain get better and better, how could the Grandmaster, his counterpart, not feel sad? Of course, besides pity for the Grandmaster, everyone present was actually quite amazed in their hearts. I really didn't expect that a beast spirit leaving the body could actually be like this. Doesn't this mean that if I had an external spirit, and my body and spirit cultivated together, one day would be worth 2? Wouldn't my strength improve like it's flying? Maybe the evil fire would leave the body with the spirit, and then I wouldn't have to suffer anymore. Ma Hongjun came to Oscar's side and whispered with a face full of envy. That's true, but unfortunately your spirit isn't an external spirit. Oscar shrugged, clearly not having much interest in this topic. Dai Mubai, who was nearby, glanced at the two of them and then continued to huddle in a corner, staring blankly, lost in thought. Ever since the heavenly curtain completely confirmed the effect of whale glue, he had been like this. His appearance fell into Zhu Zhuqing's eyes, causing her to feel completely disappointed. She understood the despair in Dai Mubai's heart, but she did not approve of his attitude. At this moment, how Zhu Zhuqing wished Dai Mubai could be like Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain. Even if the path ahead was full of problems, he would not give up. If there are problems or difficulties, then find a way to solve them. He was only 6 years old and could discover the true use of whale glue, and even discover that his spirit could cultivate, thereby possessing double the cultivation speed. Why can't you, Dai Mubai, learn from him? Dai Mubai's initial talent was countless times better than that of the Dragon God Douluo in the heavenly curtain. Yet in the end, he was just in this pathetic state. I wish I could replace Dai Mubai with the Dragon God Douluo in the heavenly curtain. If it were him, he would surely find a way to solve the current predicament. Zhu Zhuqing thought resentfully in her heart. The film continues. After discovering that Little Dragon could also cultivate, especially since Little Dragon was very fast at learning the cultivation technique he taught it, Yu Xiaogang understood that he absolutely could not treat Little Dragon as an ordinary spirit. Its brain was not at all inferior to a normal person's. So Yu Xiaogang began trying to teach Little Dragon some basic knowledge, such as literacy and writing. And the result was just as Yu Xiaogang expected. Little Dragon learned very quickly. In just a few days, Little Dragon could do some things alone. After finishing, it would return and convey information to him by pointing out words on paper. A few more days later, Little Dragon could already use its claws dipped in ink to write simple content on paper. Watching Little Dragon grow rapidly under his guidance, Yu Xiaogang suddenly had a sense of nurturing something. Although this nurtured object was, in a sense, another self. And since it was himself, many of the ideas in Yu Xiaogang's mind couldn't help but pop out. After teaching Little Dragon for a while, until Little Dragon could complete some simple reading, Yu Xiaogang began a simple test regarding the connection between himself and Little Dragon. The content of the test was very simple. Yu Xiaogang brought a book he had never read before, and he had no idea what the content inside was. He placed the book in front of Little Dragon and let Little Dragon read the content within. During this time, Yu Xiaogang stayed far away, having no intention of peeking at the book's content. After Little Dragon finished reading the entire book, Yu Xiaogang deactivated his spirit and recalled Little Dragon into his body. After doing all this, Yu Xiaogang didn't feel anything special. It seems this idea won't work. Shaking his empty head, Yu Xiaogang felt a bit disappointed. However, just as Yu Xiaogang picked up the book and prepared to put it away, his eyes inadvertently glanced at the book's cover. A somewhat blurry memory suddenly emerged from his mind. In the blurry memory, a blue monster was sharpening its knife and walking toward a group of shivering things. The image was very abstract, even so abstract that it was hard for Yu Xiaogang to distinguish what the blue monster was or what it was walking toward. Nevertheless, these suddenly emerging memories still made Yu Xiaogang's eyes widen. He subconsciously tried to recall content related to this memory. But unfortunately, there was only this much in his mind. But Yu Xiaogang was not discouraged. He opened the book in his hand and read the story inside page by page. The book told the story of a bullied boy who awakened a powerful spirit, grew stronger step by step, eventually became a titled Douluo, and got his revenge. There were many illustrations in the book, and the most memorable one was the scene of the boy's revenge at the end. With the Azure Wolf spirit possession surrounded by blue flames, the powerful titled Douluo held a sharp blade and walked toward his enemies step by step. It was exactly the scene that had emerged in his mind. It really can be done. Yu Xiaogang almost jumped up in excitement. If Little Dragon finished reading and then he recalled Little Dragon, then he could also obtain Little Dragon's memories. Although this memory was very blurry, so blurry that even the most vivid scene was very abstract. But Little Dragon had only just started learning. It was understandable that it couldn't remember unimportant content. As Little Dragon continues to learn in the future, the images it can remember will increase, and the content it can understand will also increase. At that time, Yu Xiaogang could learn simultaneously with Little Dragon and enjoy double the learning efficiency. This was even more heaven-defying than him and Little Dragon cultivating together to enjoy double the cultivation speed. And because of this, countless uses for this trait immediately surfaced in Yu Xiaogang's mind. For example, when going to the Stardew Great Forest to obtain a spirit ring, he could have Little Dragon and himself split up. When a suitable spirit beast was found, Little Dragon would return to the body to let him know the information. Or he could cultivate while Little Dragon learned, or Little Dragon could cultivate while he learned. In the same amount of time, he would complete tasks that would take others twice as long. So many uses emerged in Yu Xiaogang's mind as the connection between Little Dragon and himself was confirmed. In the White World Spirit Hall, Xiaogang, Little Dragon can actually do such a thing. How come I've never heard you mention it? Bibi Dong's eyes widened, and she looked with amazement at the giant dragon lying not far away, sleeping soundly under the light. Ha ha ha, back then I made that fellow learn too many things, which led to it hatting school a bit. So since my strength has grown and learning isn't such a rush anymore, I stopped forcing it. Yu Xiaogang laughed heartily upon hearing Bibi Dong's words. Qian Dailiu and the others nearby looked at each other in bewilderment. Making your martial soul develop a psychological hatred for school. Good heavens, just how did you order it around back then? Chapter 31, Spirit Power Reaches Level 10. The strange gazes of Qian Dailiu and Gold Crocodile Douluo did not affect Yu Xiaogang. Watching the scene of himself and Little Dragon interacting on the heavenly curtain, he could not help but feel nostalgic for the past. Back when he discovered that Little Dragon could cultivate just like him, what appeared in his mind was the shadow clone technique he had seen in Naruto before his transmigration. A separate beast spirit that was born from him and possessed consciousness was so similar to a shadow clone. Thus, Yu Xiaogang tried to let Little Dragon learn knowledge by following the usage of a shadow clone. The result was just as shown on the heavenly curtain. Little Dragon could completely do the things a shadow clone could do. With this discovery, it just so happened that Yu Xiaogang was very pressed for time in the early stages. He needed to learn knowledge about the Douluo continent and needed to meditate to increase his spirit power. He also needed to temper his body day and night to lay a good foundation for obtaining his spirit in the future. Although he had an item like whale glue that could increase the age of a spirit ring, his own foundation was still very important. Being able to increase the acquisition age by 200 years, the difference between increasing from 100 years to 300 years, and from 300 years to 500 years, was like heaven and earth. The appearance of Little Dragon undoubtedly greatly increased his efficiency. Therefore, Yu Xiaogang spent some time specifically helping Little Dragon learn knowledge. When Little Dragon had learned enough, Yu Xiaogang let Little Dragon read books on its own. He did not ask Little Dragon to understand, it only needed to memorize all the content and then transmit it to his mind. This process was torture for Little Dragon. Just like children at their age, it was the time when they loved to play. Perhaps some children liked to study, but that was only after they had played enough. It was not hard to guess what the reaction would be if a child who loved to play was forced to study. Little Dragon was the same. Before long, it developed a deep resistance to studying. But unfortunately, the one Little Dragon met was Yu Xiaogang. Although it resisted studying, Yu Xiaogang still made Little Dragon continue studying through various methods, such as persuasion, encouragement, and rewards. This was also the root cause of Little Dragon's later aversion to studying. Recalling the time when it was forced by him to study, with Little Dragon opening its big eyes and gazing at him aggrievedly, Yu Xiaogang could not help but want to laugh. Back then he had no choice, time was too tight, so he had to overwork Little Dragon. Once his strength improved, Yu Xiaogang never forced Little Dragon to study anything again. Looking at the giant dragon sleeping not far away, Yu Xiaogang shook his head. From the time he transmigrated to the Douluo continent until now, if one were to ask who was the person who had accompanied him the longest, the answer was undoubtedly Little Dragon. He and Little Dragon were one, and at the same time they were partners and family. On the path of Yu Xiaogang's growth, Little Dragon's contribution was not any less. Therefore, Yu Xiaogang was very fortunate now, fortunate that the spirit he awakened back then was Little Dragon. The video continues. 2.5 years of time passed in a flash. Inside a certain cultivation room of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, Yu Xiaogang and Little Dragon closed their eyes, meditating together. A moment later, following a wave of fluctuation, Yu Xiaogang opened his tightly closed eyes and glanced at Little Dragon, who had also opened its eyes beside him. A look of joy appeared on Yu Xiaogang's face. Little Dragon, did you feel it? Little Dragon happily circled around Yu Xiaogang twice, then pounced into his arms. Ha ha ha, finally reached level 10. I didn't expect it to be so fast. Yu Xiaogang caught Little Dragon. The joy on his face simply could not be suppressed. Level 10, according to Yu Xiaogang's original estimation, with his talent of innate level 1 soul power, it would take at least 4 or 5 years to reach level 10. Fortunately, however, Yu Xiaogang had a father who was a titled Douluo and an uncle who was a spirit saint. With their help, he discovered the secret of whale glue. Relying on this, he could enjoy the treatment of a spirit Douluo within the sect. Later, he even discovered that his spirit, Little Dragon, could also cultivate with him. With various factors combined, this allowed him to successfully reach level 10 2.5 years after his martial soul awakening, despite his talent of innate level 1 soul power. Spirit power level 10, I can obtain my first soul ring, but before that I must first consume the whale glue. A bright light flashed in Yu Xiaogang's eyes. The effects of whale glue had already been researched in detail by the family over these past 2 years. Whale glue, before being activated by fire, was a medicinal material with vigorous yang energy. And after being roasted by high-intensity flames, it was just like quicklime and water, two unrelated things colliding together, instantly bursting forth with energy that people could hardly imagine. The originally vigorous yang whale glue, after being roasted by high-intensity flames, instantly saw its yang energy surge, becoming a highly nourishing substance of extreme yang. These highly nourishing substances of extreme yang would enter the spirit master's body, enhancing the spirit master's body from the inside out. Muscles, bones, meridians, everything was strengthened. It was precisely because of this that a spirit master could withstand a higher age spirit ring. In these 2 years, relying on whale glue, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect had already produced several spirit masters with a first soul ring of over 500 years. One must know this was different from Wang Dachui's situation. Wang Dachui was already 17 years old. His body had become much, much stronger with age. But in the current Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, those who could enjoy whale glue were all those who obtained their first soul ring at 7 or 8 years old. A 17-year-old person and a 7 or 8-year-old person, there was a huge difference in their bodies to begin with. If the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect allowed this group of children, who obtained their first soul ring at 7 or 8 to grow to 17, the sect would dare to directly let this group of children obtain a first soul ring of around 900 years. The family's future was visibly bright and promising. As sect master, Yu Xiaogang and the elders were naturally smiling happily every day. Especially when seeing Yu Xiaogang, the person who brought about changes to the sect. That amiable attitude left countless sect members looking puzzled. They did not understand why the elders treated Yu Xiaogang, this trash, so well. Walking out of the cultivation room, on the way home, ordinary members of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect kept sizing up Yu Xiaogang. Speaking of which, his spirit power growth speed over these past 2 years is so fast. It's completely not the speed one with innate level 1 soul power should have. What else could it be? He's just taking advantage of the sect master. Yeah, he has a father who is a titled Douluo. That's not something we can envy. HMPH, with a father like the sect master, I haven't seen his talent be any good. He's really a disgrace to our sect. Keep your voice down. Didn't you see that even the elders are amiable to him? Sigh, this is fate. Speaking of which, do you guys think, with his talent, how many years will his first soul ring be? Hard to say. Innate level 1 soul power, just over 100 years. Don't let it be a white spirit ring when the time comes. That would be embarrassing. Chapter 32, A Spirit Rarer Than a God. Over the past 2 years, I've grown accustomed to the gossip about Yu Xiaogang from the ordinary members of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. This world is just like that. When a powerful father has a trash son, the father and son pair will inevitably become subjects of discussion. However, Yu Xiaogang had confidence in his future. He believed he could reverse all of this. Returning home, Yu Xiaogang saw Yu Xiaogang, who was handling sect affairs. Father, I've reached a breakthrough at level 10. Yu Xiaogang went to Yu Xiaogang's side and shared this good news with him. Since Yu Xiaogang discovered the whale jelly, allowing Yu Yuanzhen to regain face before the elders, Yu Yuanzhen's attitude toward Yu Xiaogang had become increasingly caring. If before, Yu Yuanzhen believed Yu Xiaogang could grow in the future out of a father's faith in his son. Now, even setting aside their father-son relationship, Yu Yuanzhen similarly believed Yu Xiaogang could find a heaven-defying path to change his destiny. "Oh, you've already made a breakthrough. Ha ha ha, not bad at all. It's much faster than I expected." Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanzhen looked up, a smile appearing on his face. "After all, Xiaolong is different from ordinary spirits. It can cultivate along with me. My cultivation speed is actually about the same as those with level 4 or 5 innate soul power." Yu Xiaogang said. "True, who would have thought your spirit would actually have such a heaven-defying ability?" Yu Yuanzhen said with a face full of admiration. As a titled Douluo, Yu Yuanzhen was considered well-informed and experienced. He had traveled across the entire Douluo continent in his younger years. What kind of strange and bizarre spirits hadn't he seen? But a spirit like Xiaolong, which possessed self-awareness, could cultivate and learn independently, and then provide feedback to the spirit master, was something he was seeing for the first time. It's just a pity, if your innate soul power were a bit higher, Xiaolong might be even more powerful. A look of regret appeared on Yu Yuanzhen's face. Level 1 innate soul power remained Yu Xiaogang's greatest flaw. "I don't think so." Yu Xiaogang shook his head upon hearing this. "During my martial soul awakening, the commotion and the roar clearly indicated that Xiaolong was originally a very powerful spirit. But my innate soul power dragged it down, preventing it from successfully condensing, and instead causing it to undergo a malignant mutation into its current state. Yet, it is precisely because of this mutation that Xiaolong gained consciousness and can exist independently of my body. The many subsequent abilities are also based on the foundation of Xiaolong's independent existence. So in my view, it was precisely my low talent that facilitated Xiaolong's birth. If my talent were even slightly higher, my spirit might have been no different from the beast spirits of ordinary spirit masters. A powerful spirit, exceptionally poor talent, paired with a unique malignant mutation. In the entire recorded history of the Douluo continent, I am the only case. This is even rarer than full innate soul power or twin spirits. It's even rarer than the legendary path of cultivating to become a god." Yu Xiaogang's words left Yu Yuanzhen stunned in place. But thinking carefully, it was indeed true. Full innate soul power appeared every few years, and twin spirits appeared every few decades or centuries. Although Yu Yuanzhen wasn't clear about the situation regarding the legendary gods, there were traces to follow. For instance, the spirit hall had always worshipped the angel god. Legend has it that the angel god was the founder of the spirit hall. Over the past 2 years, while the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect was collecting whale jelly, they had also heard legends of the sea god from the fishermen and others along the coast. There was more than one god, yet his son's situation was unique on the continent. Rarer than a god, wasn't that enough to prove how precious Xiaolong's appearance was? It's good that you can think that way. Anyway, you're already level 10. I've seen you frequently browsing books and researching information these years, so do you have any plans for your spirit ring? Yu Yuanzhen looked at Yu Xiaogang. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. He knew Yu Xiaogang was a very assertive person, so he wanted to know his plans. If there was anything wrong, he, as a father, could help correct it. My plan for the first soul ring is simple: a dragon-type spirit beast, and the purer the dragon clan bloodline, the better. I'm not considering attributes. In fact, I want to find a non-attributed dragon-type spirit beast if possible. Yu Xiaogang shared the thoughts he had already pondered countless times. A non-attributed dragon-type spirit beast, and with the purer the dragon clan bloodline, the better. There are plenty with attributes but non-attributed. Such a spirit beast won't be easy to find. Yu Yuanzhen began to search his mind for a suitable spirit beast. I know it's hard to find, but it can't be helped. No matter how I test Xiaolong now, I can't detect any attribute inclination. And among attributes, there are opposing ones like water and fire, or light and darkness. If I rashly add an attribute to Xiao Long, and it happens to be an opposing one, things could go wrong. Yu Xiaogang wore a helpless expression as he summoned Xiao Long. Pale purple fur all over, a pair of large deep blue eyes, and a slightly chubby body. Generally, one can tell a spirit's attribute at least somewhat from its appearance. For example, fire attribute spirits are often red or orange, thunder attribute spirits are mostly blue, and wood or poison attribute spirits are mostly green. But with Xiao Long's appearance, it was completely impossible to tell. Alright then, we'll look for a non-attributed dragon-type spirit beast. But before that, you must first use the whale jelly. This is something you discovered to change your own fate. Yu Xiaogang went to the desk, opened a drawer, and took out an exquisite box. Opening the box, deep yellow crystals appeared before Yu Xiaogang's eyes. These are all the 10,000-year whale glue the family has collected over the past 2 years. I know you want to use whale jelly to strengthen your physique, so you can obtain a first soul ring with a higher age limit. So, I've kept the best quality pieces from all the 10,000-year whale glue the sect has collected here. It's all for today, now pick one. Yu Xiaogang smiled and handed the box to Yu Xiaogang. Looking at the many pieces of whale jelly in the box, Yu Xiaogang stepped forward and, without being polite, began to choose among them. Soon, a piece of whale jelly shaped somewhat like a gold ingot was picked out by Yu Xiaogang. This shape was likable at first glance. Holding the whale jelly in his hand, Yu Xiaogang's eyes flickered. He had always watched others refining whale jelly before. Today, it was finally his turn. Chapter 33, Grandmaster, Overestimating Himself. Medicine isn't to be used lightly. Black World, Shrek Academy. 10,000-year whale glue, and so much of it. Slurp, I really envy the Grandmaster in the Heavenly Curtain. Ma Hongjun looked at the box of 10,000-year whale glue in the Heavenly Curtain, his face full of envy. Right now, forget 10,000-year whale glue or 1,000-year whale gel. He couldn't even get his hands on 100-year whale jelly. He knew that whale jelly could improve a spirit master's physique, allowing them to obtain older spirit rings, but he had no way of getting any. Beside him, Tang San's expression was also gloomy. Since the effects of whale jelly were made public, they had searched every apothecary shop in Suqiu City, but they couldn't buy even a single piece of 100-year whale jelly. Even Flender had activated his spirit and flown to neighboring towns, but the result was the same. Every time he recalled those apothecary shop owners, looking at them with disdain, and saying that the spirit hall had forbidden the sale of whale jelly, the killing intent in Tang San's heart couldn't help but boil. Forbidding the sale of whale jelly to him, and preventing him from obtaining older spirit rings was, to him, a feud of obstructing his path. So at this moment, in Tang San's heart, the spirit hall was already a faction he was destined to oppose in the future. Those apothecary shop owners also already had a path to their own death. Humph, once I establish the Tang sect in the future, I will sooner or later make a dark and filthy organization like the Spirit Hall pay the price. Tang San, who already had the idea of establishing his own Tang sect on the Douluo continent, thought to himself. When that time came, the sect leader of the Tang sect would definitely be himself, while his teacher could serve as an elder of the Tang sect. Thinking this, Tang San looked at the Grandmaster beside him, only to see the Grandmaster staring at the Heavenly Curtain with an excited expression. Teacher, have you discovered something? Tang San walked to the Grandmaster's side and asked curiously. No, I just think that the Yu Xiaogang in the Heavenly Curtain is overestimating himself too much. The Grandmaster turned to look at Tang San, the smile still on his face. Oh, how so? Tang San asked with curiosity. Hearing the Grandmaster's words, the others also looked at him. Being watched by everyone, the Grandmaster felt as if he had returned to his former self, and he raised his head proudly. You all should know that when using medicinal ingredients, you should try to choose those that suit you best. If the effect of a medicinal ingredient is too strong, it can also cause harm. For example, if ginseng is too old, it will simply be overnourishing. The Grandmaster straightened his back, looking like a sage. With something like whale jelly, if the age is wrong, the situation will be even more serious. The pigs used for testing earlier that exploded and died are proof of that. And for a child less than 10 years old to directly consume such an extremely yang and highly nourishing substance like 10,000-year whale glue. If he isn't ruined by the nourishment, I'll write my name, Yu Xiaogang, backwards. The Grand Master looked certain. He was Yu Xiaogang himself. How could he not know what his own body was like when he was not even 9 years old? Therefore, he was certain that the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain would definitely be unable to withstand the effects of the 10,000-year whale glue. I see. The people from Shrek Academy nearby were also convinced by the Grandmaster's theory. Because this explanation was the most reasonable of all the Grandmaster's theories they had heard so far. HMPH, so what if he can become a titled Douluo? In his youth, he was still greedy and overestimated himself. Dai Mubai snorted twice and spoke with full sarcasm. Right now, aside from the Grandmaster, he was probably the person in the entire Douluo continent who hated the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain the most. After all, it was that person who had brought him the deepest despair. So at this moment, he was already prepared to watch the Dragon God Douluo in the heavenly curtain make a fool of himself. Besides the people from Shrek Academy, some others had also thought of this, and they all waited for the subsequent developments with expressions of watching a show. It can only be said that watching someone make a fool of themselves, especially a powerful person, always arouses people's desires. The video continues. Having obtained the whale jelly, Yu Xiaogang weighed it in his hand. It was heavy, like an iron ingot. He brought the whale jelly to his nose and sniffed it. A fishy smell that wasn't pungent rushed to his brain, and hidden within this fishy smell was a faint fragrance. It actually smells quite nice. Yu Xiaogang remarked with emotion, and then looked at Yu Yuanzhen. Father, I'll be counting on you when I refine the whale jelly. Don't worry, I won't let anyone disturb you. Yu Yuanzhen nodded. Father, has the family not yet tried letting someone who hasn't even obtained their first soul ring refine 10,000-year whale glue? Hearing Yu Yuanzhen's words, and seeing that he didn't seem prepared to do anything, Yu Xiaogang was silent for a moment before asking somewhat helplessly. Of course not, 10,000-year whale glue is rare. How could it be given to someone who hasn't even obtained their first soul ring? According to the family's plans, if a family disciple wants to use 10,000-year whale glue before obtaining their first soul ring, their innate soul power must be at least rank 8 or above. Yu Yuanzhen looked like it was only natural, but he soon reacted. Xiaogang, you mean? It's exactly as you're thinking, Father. If I consume the 10,000-year whale glue, it will definitely be overnourishing. Yu Xiaogang sighed and glanced at Yu Yuanzhen, feeling quite speechless. He had already discovered that people on the Douluo continent basically never thought deeply about anything. In many matters, they just look at the surface information and leave it at that. Consequently, the information hidden deep within is often overlooked. Right now, I'm just a child of over 8 years old. Consuming 1,000-year whale gel would be fine, but I definitely wouldn't be able to withstand 10,000-year whale glue. Weren't those pigs that died in the experiments just like that, overnourished? Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, a cold sweat broke out on Yu Yuanzhen's back. Only then did he realize they had overlooked too much regarding whale jelly. In that case, Xiaogang, if you still want to use the 10,000-year whale glue, won't the risk be too great? Yu Yuanzhen asked cautiously. That's why I said I need you to help me, Father. Yu Xiaogang rested his hand on his forehead. Was it really okay for an adult to ask a child such a thing? Father, you are a titled Douluo with great strength. With you taking action, using spirit power to protect the meridians in my body, and helping me refine the medicinal effects of the whale jelly. This way, we won't have to fear any problems, right? Yu Xiaogang stated the method he had already thought of. For a spirit master, the meridians throughout the body are the most important things. The circulation of spirit power is entirely within the meridians. As long as the meridians are unharmed, even if the body is injured or even crippled, it is possible to find a way to heal oneself on the Douluo continent. So, as long as his father stepped in to help protect his meridians, Yu Xiaogang could safely refine the 10,000-year whale glue. Even if places like the muscles and bones were injured by the medicinal effects, they could just be nursed back to health later. It was only because he had a titled Douluo for a father. Otherwise, Yu Xiaogang would have had to obediently refine thousand-year whale gel. Then again, without his father, where would he have gotten the chance to know the effects of whale jelly? In the end, things like whale jelly and knowledge were not his true capital for his heaven-defying fate-changing. What truly gave him the heaven-defying capital to change his fate had always been his father, whose strength had reached the level of a titled Douluo. Of course, being able to utilize the convenience brought by his father's status was also Yu Xiaogang's own skill. For someone else, even with a titled Douluo father, they might not necessarily be able to accomplish anything. Chapter 34, A Titled Douluo Protects the Way, Refining the Whale Jelly. With Yu Xiaogang's reminder, Yu Yuanzhen finally understood how to proceed. Watching Yu Xiaogang prepare to refine the whale jelly, he couldn't help but feel that every time he interacted with his son, he felt as if his son had transcended the Douluo continent. Whether it was his way of looking at problems or his understanding of certain things, it was always a level, or even several levels, higher than ordinary people. Fortunately, this is my son. Yu Yuanzhen sighed with emotion, then took Yu Xiaogang to a cultivation room the family had recently built specifically for refining whale jelly. Upon entering the cultivation room, a wave of heat rushed toward them. In the center of the cultivation room sat a figure in meditation. With graying hair and beard, yet possessing a pair of crimson eyebrows, the figure was instantly memorable. Elder Yan, we have come to refine whale jelly. Yu Yuanzhen called out to Elder Yan, who opened his eyes and looked at Yu Yuanzhen. So it's the sect master, you are. It seems your young master has reached level 10, much faster than most in the sect expected. Elder Yan stood up, first greeting Yu Yuanzhen before looking at Yu Xiaogang. Elder Yan, I will have to trouble you in a moment. Yu Xiaogang bowed to Elder Yan. As one of the upper three sects, the experts of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect were naturally not limited to just the sect master and a few sect elders. While the sect master and elders were the core of the sect also had affiliated forces, guest elders, and so on. For instance, Thunder Academy, one of the famous 5 Elements academies on the Douluo continent, was supported by the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. In addition, some families with a legacy of Thunder attribute spirits also had inextricable links with the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Besides forces, there were experts. The Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect had the position of guest elder, and every person who could serve as a guest elder for the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect possessed the strength of a spirit Douluo. For example, Elder Yan was an 82nd level spirit Douluo, whose spirit was a fire attribute spirit that followed the extreme path. Because of this, Elder Yan became one of the participants in the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect's whale jelly affairs. What trouble is there? It's just a small matter. I have been curious about you for a long time, discovering the secret of whale jelly at such a young age. Not simple at all. Elder Yan remarked, stroking his beard. I only discovered the whale jelly by chance because my talent was poor, and I wanted to find a way to change it. To be honest, I really don't know if this is my luck or my misfortune. Yu Xiaogang showed a complex expression. If you ask me, this might be your luck. If the heavens want you to walk an extraordinary path, they will naturally set many obstacles for you. Only by crossing these obstacles can you truly become a powerhouse of a generation. Perhaps those with exceptional talent have a smooth path early on, but if you can catch up, you will definitely not lose to them. Elder Yan's words were forceful, as if he had already seen the day Yu Xiaogang would rise. Although his words were somewhat flattering, part of him was serious. That is, if Yu Xiaogang could really catch up, he would definitely not lose to those geniuses. Elder Yan, you're going a bit too far. He's just starting out now, it's still early. Yu Yuanzhen said he was going too far, but his smile didn't fade at all. After some pleasantries, Elder Yan took the 10,000-year whale glue handed over by Yu Xiaogang, glanced at Yu Yuanzhen with some surprise, and then possessed his spirit to begin refining the whale jelly. Elder Yan's spirit was named the Blazing Mad Lion. As soon as his spirit possessed him, the temperature in the entire cultivation room instantly soared by more than 10 degrees. Holding the whale jelly in his hand and roasting it continuously, in just a few moments, the crystalline whale jelly turned into a pool of sticky liquid. At the same time, a strong fishy smell and fragrance were emitted from the whale jelly together. Kid, hurry up and eat it while it's hot. After finishing the roasting, Elder Yan released his spirit possession and handed the whale jelly to Yu Xiaogang. Taking the whale jelly, Yu Xiaogang did not hesitate and directly put the boiling hot whale jelly into his mouth. Hiss! A scorching sensation instantly spread through his mouth. Yu Xiaogang hurriedly gathered spirit power in his mouth and throat to prevent the whale jelly from burning him. After completing this, Yu Xiaogang swallowed the whale jelly, then quickly sat cross-legged on the ground, closed his eyes, and circulated his spirit power, preparing to refine the medicinal effects of the whale jelly. At the same time, Yu Yuanzhen also came to Yu Xiaogang's side, placing both hands on Yu Xiaogang's shoulders. Vast spirit power entered Yu Xiaogang's body through his hands to protect him. Within moments, a scorching sensation began to spread from within Yu Xiaogang's body. Starting from the abdomen, it flowed toward his limbs and bones. Zero. The restless sensation wandered through Yu Xiaogang's body, causing him to groan twice uncontrollably. However, Yu Xiaogang soon suppressed the restlessness in his heart and began to focus on refining the medicinal power. Consequently, before long, Yu Yuanzhen, who was protecting Yu Xiaogang, felt something constantly flowing within the meridians he was guarding. Moreover, more and more things were flowing, and since the meridians were only so wide, they began to gradually swell under the continuous accumulation of these things. This, fortunately, Xiaogang asked me to help. Otherwise, Xiaogang's meridians would definitely have been burst by the medicinal effects of the whale jelly by now. Yu Yuanzhen looked relieved. He had already decided to ask Xiaogang carefully about what else needed attention regarding the whale jelly after returning. If not for Xiaogang, and they rashly let a genius of the family refine 10,000-year whale glue, it would have directly ruined that genius. With Yu Yuanzhen presiding, although the medicinal power of the 10,000-year whale glue tried to break through Yu Xiaogang's meridians, unfortunately, it was far too easy for someone with the strength of a titled Douluo to handle such a matter. So, although Yu Xiaogang felt his body was bloated throughout the process of refining the whale jelly, and the time taken far exceeded what an average person would need, not a single accident occurred during the entire refining process. Thus, when the sun rose the next day and everything inside Yu Xiaogang's body returned to calm, he slowly opened his eyes. "How do you feel?" Yu Yuanzhen, who had been busy all night, asked with a smile. "I feel like my body is better than ever before." Yu Xiaogang raised his hand and clenched his fist. Power filled his limbs and bones. At this moment, Yu Xiaogang even felt like he could do anything. Of course, this feeling was just an illusion brought about by the sudden surge in strength. Yu Xiaogang would not take this feeling as real. True power would have to wait until after he obtained his first soul ring. The first soul ring, I wonder what kind of spirit ability I'll get. Chapter 35 Grandmaster, don't worry, little San, I will definitely find a better spirit ring for you. The first stage of comparison is complete. Tomorrow at the same time, the second stage comparison video will be broadcast. Black World Shrek Academy. The broadcast on the heavenly curtain paused, allowing everyone to breathe a sigh of relief. After watching for so long, they indeed needed some time to digest the information from the heavenly curtain. Upon reflecting, everyone remembered the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain, completing the refinement of the whale jelly. They also recalled the Grandmaster's previously confident assertions. Consequently, for a moment, everyone's gaze shifted toward the Grandmaster. How interesting, some people, being incompetent themselves, think everyone else is incompetent too. Dumbfounded now, aren't you? Speaking of which, Grandmaster, you and that Dragon God Douluo in the heavenly curtain are clearly the same. You both have the Thunder Douluo as a father. Why did he know how to ride his father's coattails while you've ended up in such a state? Also, Grandmaster, you said before that if that Dragon God Douluo wasn't ruined by the supplements, you'd write your name backwards. So how should we address you now, Gangzai Arroyu? Enning Rongrong looked at the Grandmaster with a hint of amusement. From the moment the heavenly curtain appeared and showed that with the same talent, one could become a generation's titled Douluo, while the Grandmaster remained stuck at rank 29, she hadn't believed a single word out of Yu Xiaogang's mouth. Does such a person even deserve to be called a Grandmaster? It's simply hilarious. If the one in front of her could be called a Grandmaster, then what would that make the Dragon God Douluo in the heavenly curtain? Enning Rongrong, shut your mouth, my teacher is not for you to judge. Tang San stepped in front of Ning Rongrong, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Honestly, I've never been able to figure it out. You Tang San are supposed to be a genius. Why do you have so much faith in Yu Xiaogang, someone who can't even break through rank 29? He hasn't even broken through rank 29, so where does he get the confidence to teach you? Setting other things aside, does he know how strong a 10,000-year spirit beast is? Does he know how to cultivate after rank 40? He knows none of these things. Enning Rongrong stared directly at Tang San, not fearing him in the slightest. I'm asking you, if someone who doesn't even know these things gives you guidance with such confidence, what happens if he's wrong? You should know that everything about cultivating after rank 30 is just his imagination. He has never actually experienced it himself. Enning Rongrong's questioning caused the killing intent in Tang San's heart to intensify. To dare ridicule his teacher like this, Enning Rongrong, you have already found your path to one's own death. Of course, Tang San would not, and dared not move against Ning Rongrong right now. After all, her status was enough to make him wary. He simply noted today's grudge silently. In the future, he would definitely make Ning Rongrong and the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School behind her pay the price. As for his teacher failing to reach rank 30, and the issues regarding his own cultivation after rank 30. In Tang San's view, his cultivation of the mysterious heaven skill and his possession of the Tang sect legacy were the true foundations for his future on the Douluo continent. As for his spirit, he could just settle for practicing it as a secondary concern. After all, he possessed twin trash martial souls. He shouldn't have achieved what he had in the first place. Without the mysterious heaven skill, perhaps he too would be like his teacher, unable to break through rank 29 for his entire life. On that basis, achieving what he had at his current age, what more could he be dissatisfied with? The spirit system is just a minor path to me. My true trump cards will always be everything from the Tang sect. At this moment, Tang San took pride in the Tang sect legacy he had received, looking down upon everyone on the Douluo continent with a superior attitude. Little San, thank you. Unaware that Tang San was looking down on them like low-dimensional natives from the perspective of a high-dimensional rebirth traveler, the Grandmaster looked at Tang San with a face full of gratitude. When everyone else looked down on him, only Tang San, his disciple, was still willing to believe in him. How fortunate he was to have taken on such a disciple. I must find a path suitable for little San, so that he can stand at the pinnacle of the continent in the future and prove my talent to everyone. The Grandmaster thought to himself, moved. He had already decided that the next time Tang San went to obtain a spirit ring, he would find a spirit beast even more suitable for him. Let me think, little San's control over the blue-silver grass is already starting to show promise. But his poison is still not potent enough. Therefore, I need to find a spirit beast with even more violent toxicity. Thinking of this, the Grandmaster's eyes lit up as he thought of a very rare poison attribute spirit beast. Yes, the death demon spider. This kind of spirit beast is very suitable for little San. The death demon spider itself is highly poisonous, and it also possesses some death attributes. The death attribute can weaken a spirit master, further enhancing little San's controllability. This is simply the most suitable spirit beast for little San right now. Why didn't I think of it before? Yu Xiaogang was full of joy. He planned to go back and check the information on the death demon's spider before sharing this surprise with Tang San. On the other side, at the spirit hall. Is that it? Standing below, Juliana looked like she hadn't had enough. She still wanted to know exactly how many years that Dragon God Douluo's first soul ring was. All right, Nana, after watching for so long, you should start today's cultivation. From her throne, Bibaidong looked down and then glanced at the two people beside Juliana, Zai Yue and Yan. And you too as well, all of you cultivate diligently. I've already arranged for people to collect whale jelly. Before you obtain your next spirit rings, each of you will be able to refine a piece of 10,000-year whale glue. Cherish this hard-won opportunity, do you understand? Understood, rest assured, Lord Pope. With the help of the whale jelly, we will definitely be able to obtain a spirit ring that exceeds our limits. Yan, standing next to Zai Yue, stepped forward and spoke first. Please put your mind at ease, teacher. We will absolutely not bring shame to you. Hu Liena also spoke with a face full of confidence. Seeing the confident expression on Hu Liena's face, Bibai Dong's expression softened slightly as she said softly. Then go and cultivate quickly. For the Continental Advanced Soul Master Academy Elite Tournament in a few years, I have prepared gifts for you. After a few more words, Bibai Dong dismissed Hu Liena's trio, and then looked toward the chrysanthemum Douluo Yu Guan and the Gui Mei. Jiawei Guan Gui Mei. Here. With the appearance of the heavenly curtain, the Douluo continent will not be peaceful from now on. Instruct those below that if items like whale jelly appear in the future, there is no need to ask for our permission, just issue a prohibition immediately. Understood. Also, establish several more subhalls in coastal towns to manage overseas affairs. I only learned today that such treasures as whale jelly also exist in the ocean. Coupled with the spirit beasts in the sea, does that mean the ocean, like the Stardew Great Forest, hides many secrets we are unaware of? Bibi Dong narrowed her eyes, looking out beyond the hall as if she could see the distant ocean at the edge of the sky. This. Yue Guan and Gui Mei exchanged a look, both feeling somewhat uncertain. Because they felt that what Her Highness the Pope said made a lot of sense. Glancing at the expressions of the two below, Bibai Dong felt a sense of anticipation. Her second martial soul is still missing many spirit rings. If the ocean is indeed like the Stardew Great Forest, could she find even more powerful spirit beasts in the sea? Chapter 36 Gold Crocodile Douluo. Why can he gang up on me in a one-on-one? Bibi Dong wanted to go to the sea to find powerful spirit beasts for her second spirit. The people of other forces didn't have so many thoughts. After all, in the entire Douluo continent, there were only 2 people with twin spirits now. 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. So this is the 10,000-year whale glue. Such a fragrant scent, it's indeed good, a truly fine treasure. Enning Fengzhai looked at the many pieces of 10,000-year whale glue in the box before him, feeling a sense of intoxication. When it came to collecting things, Ning Fengzhai dared to say that in the entire Douluo continent, the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School was definitely the most efficient. So he had issued orders while the heavenly curtain was broadcasting, and by the time it finished, the first batch of whale jelly had already arrived before him. With these whale jellies, plus the protection of the old scoundrel and myself, Rongrong will also be able to refine the 10,000-year whale glue. Ha, everything Yu Xiaogang did in the heavenly curtain was witnessed by us, which makes things convenient for us. A sharp light flashed in Bone Douluo Gurong's eyes, and saw Douluo beside him nodded in agreement. The people sent to pick up Rongrong are already on their way. It won't be long before she returns. However, I heard from those following Rongrong that the Shrek Academy she joined is truly a place of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Enning Fengzhai suddenly said. A prince from the Star Lu Empire and his partner, a young spirit master with a fire phoenix martial soul, a food system soul master with full innate soul power, and a genius who can trade blows with a spirit saint at such a young age. It's because of these people. Otherwise, with Rongrong's temperament, she wouldn't have stayed in that Shrek Academy for so long. Recalling the intelligence he had received earlier, Ning Fengzhai felt a deep curiosity about Shrek Academy. 3 spirit saint-level teachers, such a lineup was already very rare. What was even rarer was that every student they recruited was exceptionally valuable. He didn't covet the prince of the Star Lu Empire, after all there was no point in doing so. But the spirit master with the fire phoenix martial soul, and the one who could hold their own against a spirit saint at a young age, were different. His own sect possessed the world's #1 support spirit, the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile Pagoda. Although they were all part of the upper 3 sects, the operational models of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School the Clear Sky sect, and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect were completely different. For instance, in those two sects, the one who could become the sect master was generally the strongest person in the sect. In the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School, however, anyone could potentially become the sect master. The only criterion for judging them was who could recruit the most powerful experts. The role of a support spirit is to assist. Therefore, with the same spirit, who is stronger or weaker, can only be judged by the people fighting alongside them. Back then, Ning Fengzhai became the sect master precisely because he recruited Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo. Thus, when Ning Fengzhai saw those gifted young people at Shrek Academy, his first thought was that if his daughter Ning Rongrong could win them over, she would be the next sect master. We must send people to keep an eye on Shrek Academy and find an opportunity to recruit them. Rongrong is still young and doesn't understand these things yet, so as her elders, we must make preparations for her in advance. Ning Fengzhai finished speaking and glanced at the two Douluos. The two nodded readily. They treated Ning Rongrong as their own granddaughter, so they naturally agreed with Ning Fengzhai's proposal. Black World, Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. Sect Master, do we need to recall Yu Xiaogang? He is, after all, the counterpart of that Dragon God Douluo. The second elder looked at Sect Master Yu Xiaogang with a stern face. Yu Xiaogang didn't speak, just stared blankly at the now blank heavenly curtain. He was tired of even saying the word envy. But unfortunately, he could only sit here and envy the version of himself in that other world. Sect Master. Seeing that Yu Xiaogang hadn't reacted for a long time, the second elder raised his voice. Oh, whatever works, whatever works. Yu Xiaogang replied perfunctorily. I'm asking you if we should recall Yu Xiaogang to the sect. The second elder said irritably. However, he could understand. Anyone would inevitably feel disappointed seeing someone else's son so successful while their own was like this. Let's forget it, what's the point of having him come back? After a moment of silence, Yu Xiaogang shook his head. The Grandmaster on this side is already in his 40s. No matter how well the Yu Xiaogang in the Heavenly Curtain does, it's already too late for him to learn now. Focus our attention on the sect's future development. It's just one less titled Douluo, it won't affect much. Yu Xiaogang sat up straight. Although he was a failure as a father, his own strength was still at the peak of the Douluo continent. As long as he was around, no one would dare to look down on the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Other forces such as the Clear Sky sect, the Heaven Dew Empire and the Starlu Empire also had their own discussions. Although everyone's focus was different, it was foreseeable that an undercurrent was constantly gathering in the shadows of the Douluo continent. White World Spirit Hall. All right, today's broadcast is over, and I've finished today's cultivation. Everyone, go back to your own business now. Yu Xiaogang waved his hand, intending to shoo away the crowd that had stayed to watch the excitement. Hey, you brat, you're really not being polite at all. Gold Crocodile Douluo glared at Yu Xiaogang, only to be met with a kindly smile from him. Upon seeing that smile, Gold Crocodile Douluo immediately shut his mouth. He still remembered fighting a battle with Yu Xiaogang years ago, and that battle had left a very deep impression on him. It was called a duel, but in reality, it was a gang beating. Yu Xiaogang and his dragon worked together, beating him until he had no power to fight back. At that time he was thinking, why is it a one-on-one, yet you can gang up on me? Since then, Gold Crocodile Douluo never sparred or fought with Yu Xiaogang again. There was no choice, he simply couldn't win. Seeing Gold Crocodile Douluo's expression, Qian Dailiu couldn't help but smile and shake his head. Never mind Gold Crocodile Douluo, even he, who claimed to be invincible in the sky, hadn't he been thrashed soundly on the ground by Yu Xiaogang? So from then on, Qian Dailiu had also come to terms with it. In this world, there are simply some existences that defy common sense. I suppose our ancestor, the angel god, must have been like this as well. This was the lament Qian Dailiu would inevitably express every time he saw Yu Xiaogang achieve something thereafter. After ushering the various consecrated elders out of the cultivation field, only Yu Xiaogang and Bibai Dong remained inside for a moment. Xiaogang, with the heavenly curtain broadcasting your past, does seeing these things still make you sad now? Bibi Dong took Yu Xiaogang's hand and asked cautiously. Didn't I already say, there's nothing to be sad about? I actually think it's quite nice to have this broadcast now to let me reminisce about my past experiences. Yu Xiaogang said with a smile. Speaking of which, the heavenly curtain will surely broadcast the process of how we met and became close, right? Bibi Dong's eyes lit up and then her cheeks flushed slightly. Of course, that's also part of my memories, isn't it? Yu Xiaogang gazed at Bibai Dong, making her face turn even redder. It was at that moment. Teacher, I've come to ask you some questions. Chapter 37, Yu Xiaogang's Disciples. Teacher, I've come to ask you some questions. Hearing this voice, Bibai Dong quickly adjusted her emotions, using her spirit power to bring herself to her peak state before looking toward the source of the sound. Over there, two girls were holding hands, walking quickly toward the two of them. Teacher. The girl in front saw Bibai Dong and waved at her with a smile, then pulled the girl behind her directly to the front of the two. Teacher, Dragon God His Eminence. Arriving before Bibai Dong and Yu Xiaogang, the girl in front, Hu Liena, bowed respectfully to them. The girl being pulled by Hu Liena, Zhu Zhuqing, also bowed respectfully just like her. His Holiness the Pope, teacher. Seeing the respectful manner of the two before her, Bibai Dong stepped forward first, reached out to grab Hu Liena's cheeks and began to rub them. Didn't I say there's no need for this in front of your teacher? After speaking, Bibai Dong reached out and rubbed Zhu Zhuqing's head as well. You too. Although she had long known that the seemingly majestic Supreme Pontiff was actually a kind and gentle person in private. But being treated this way, Zhu Zhuqing still found it difficult to adapt. After all, Bibai Dong's status was simply too noble. Teacher, Dragon God His Eminence, you saw that heavenly curtain too, right? Their entire spirit city is in an uproar now. No one expected that something like a parallel world actually existed. Especially since in that parallel world, Dragon God His Eminence. At this point, Hu Liena's words trailed off, somewhat unsure of how to continue. It's fine, just treat him as another person. Yu Xiaogang said indifferently. Oh, who could have imagined that the Dragon God, His Eminence of another world, would be like that? Hu Liena sighed with emotion. Their group had all grown up listening to the legends and stories of Yu Xiaogang. So seeing a Dragon God His Eminence in such a different state, they simply couldn't believe it. Could such a person even be worthy of being Dragon God His Eminence's counterpart? Beside her, Zhu Zhuqing agreed wholeheartedly with Hu Liena's words. Such a person was not worthy of sharing the same name as her teacher. All right, just treat the things shown in the heavenly curtain as stories. By the way, Nana, how has your cultivation been going lately? Have you been slacking off? Bibi Dong straightened her face, trying to put on a majestic air, but unfortunately, everyone present knew her true nature. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. For instance, Hu Liena still maintained her cheeky, smiling face. How could I slack off? Teacher, you know me, I'm the most hardworking. Hu Liena clenched her fists and looked at Bibai Dong. What do you mean, most hardworking? The most hardworking ones have always been Tang San and Zhuqing. Do you think I don't know? Bibi Dong glanced at Hu Liena and said irritably. At the mention of Tang San's name, Hu Liena was left speechless, and she subconsciously glanced at Zhu Zhuqing beside Yu Xiaogang. She realized that as long as they were disciples of Dragon God His Eminence, they were all the very hard-working type. This was true for Tang San, and it was true for Zhu Zhuqing. However, Hu Liena could understand them. As a member of the Star Luo Empire's Zhu family, if she hadn't been taken in as a disciple by Dragon God His Eminence, she would have had to follow that daimyo and participate in the competition between the Star Luo princes. Having finally gained an opportunity to change her fate, she naturally had to seize it as much as possible. Even now, Hu Liena remembered the words Zhu Zhuqing said when they first met. I want to become stronger, and then use my own strength to personally let the Star Lu Empire's imperial family know that it's fine for their princes to kill each other. That's their own business, and it wouldn't matter even if they all died. But don't drag others into such things. After that came frantic cultivation. The level of effort made even Hu Liena click her tongue in amazement. As for the other disciple, Tang San, Hu Liena wasn't very clear about his specific circumstances. But she heard that his father had plotted against his mother, causing her to nearly die. Therefore, he had to work hard to become stronger to seek justice for his mother. Regardless, the disciples of Dragon God His Eminence each had a firm goal, which was why they could work so hard. Whereas she herself not only lacked a goal, but her teacher also couldn't bring herself to be strict with her. This resulted in her not being as diligent in her cultivation. Even so, under her teacher's guidance, with Dragon God His Eminence occasionally stepping in as a guest teacher. This allowed her strength to soar, even without working that hard. Oh, Teacher Tilda, don't be so strict. Your disciple's strength is already far beyond others of the same age. It's fine to relax a little. Hu Liena hugged Bibai Dong's arm, shaking it continuously while acting spoiled. You! Bibi Dong tapped Hu Liena's head with her finger and finally sighed. Forget it, relaxing a bit was fine. After all, if anything happened, she, the teacher, was there. At worst, her husband was also there. With him around, there was nothing in this Douluo continent that couldn't be resolved. On the other side, the interaction between Zhu Zhuqing and Yu Xiaogang was much more serious. Zhu Zhuqing was someone who pursued strength, so Yu Xiaogang was also quite strict with her. How is it, having changed the logic of obtaining spirit rings for traditional agility attack system spirits in Douluo continent, can you still adapt to this fighting style? Yu Xiaogang asked. I'm still a bit unaccustomed to it for now. Zhu Zhuqing shook her head. But I can feel that spirit rings obtained through this logic of pursuing a one-hit kill are the path that agility attack system spirit masters should truly take. Zhu Zhuqing's gaze toward Yu Xiaogang was filled with admiration. After all, the man before her was the most legendary titled Douluo in the current Douluo continent. Along the way, Yu Xiaogang had shattered the perceptions of countless people. For example, her spirit ring configuration. It was only after becoming Yu Xiaogang's disciple that Zhu Zhuqing learned agility attack systems spirit masters could actually configure their spirit rings this way. Moving through the shadows to find an opening, securing a one-hit kill when the opportunity arises, then retreating to find another opening before striking again. Only such a spirit master could truly be called an agility attack system spirit master. The previous configurations that only increased speed, making one just move faster during combat, how could those be considered agility attack system spirit masters? Familiarize yourself well with it. Once this configuration matures, Douluo continent will see what a true agility attack system is. Patting Zhu Zhuqing's shoulder, Yu Xiaogang turned and walked toward Little Dragon. Watching Yu Xiaogang's departing back and feeling where her shoulder had been patted, the admiration in Zhu Zhuqing's eyes was completely undisguised. She cast a subtle glance at Bibai Dong, a deep sense of envy flowing through her heart. They were both men, so why did some possess such great talent yet choose to abandon their fiancés and flee the vortex of conflict out of fear for their lives? While others, despite poor talent, could heaven-defyingly change their fate. Both were human, yet the difference was simply too vast. Fortunately, I met Teacher and was taken in as his disciple. Zhu Zhuqing felt incredibly lucky. If she hadn't been taken in as a disciple by her teacher, she really didn't know what kind of mindset she would have had to face that fellow who abandoned her back then. Chapter 38, Grandmaster, Liu Sanpao must be a pig-type martial soul. The night passed quickly. The next day arrived, and the higher-ups of various forces across the Douluo continent finished handling their affairs early in the morning. Having completed these tasks, most people contentedly picked up their teacups and waited quietly for the moment the heavenly curtain would open. Soon, the time when the heavenly curtain had begun its broadcast yesterday arrived, and it finally showed some movement. Dual Douluo comparison, now continuing the broadcast. Subject of broadcast, Black World Grandmaster Yu Xiaogang. Henceforth, the Grandmaster's name will be changed to Yu Xiaogang to distinguish him from the protagonist. Seeing the images of Grandmaster Yu Xiaogang about to be broadcast on the heavenly curtain, most people showed expressions of dissatisfaction. Why broadcast some Grandmaster? Is he even worthy of being on the heavenly curtain? It would be better to just broadcast the experiences of that Dragon God Douluo. Exactly, what's there to see about a rank 29 trash? We want to see how that Dragon God Douluo defied his fate. Just from what was broadcast yesterday, you can see how huge the gap between the two is, and this gap will only continue to widen. I really feel bad for Thunder Douluo of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Having a son like this, he might as well have just given birth to a piece of cured meat. One can only say that Thunder Douluo probably threw the baby away and raised the placenta instead. Later, before the heavenly curtain even began its broadcast, people from all over started protesting. Unfortunately, the heavenly curtain did not accept complaints. The scene shifted and the images appeared. Yu Xiaogang's spirit power reached rank 10. 15 years old, rank 10. If Yu Xiaogang were a commoner with no background and an innate spirit power of half a rank, reaching this level at 15 would definitely be something to celebrate. But Yu Xiaogang was no commoner. He also utilized the cultivation resources of his father, the titled Douluo Yu Xiaogang. One can only say that such was Yu Xiaogang's talent. Having finally reached rank 10, it was time to obtain his first soul ring. According to Yu Xiaogang's initial thoughts, although Yu Xiaogang's talent was poor, his spirit was very special. A separate beast spirit and the power displayed during its awakening, all of these proved that this spirit, named Liu Sanpao by Yu Xiaogang, was extraordinary. Therefore, he did not hesitate to give his cultivation resources to Yu Xiaogang, wanting to force his growth to prove all this. In this process, obtaining spirit rings was the most crucial step. According to Yu Xiaogang's plan, he wanted to attach a dragon-type spirit beast spirit ring to Yu Xiaogang's spirit. After all, his own spirit was the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. No matter how Yu Xiaogang's spirit mutated, it couldn't be completely unrelated to dragons. However, on this matter, Yu Xiaogang had his own ideas. What did you say? You want a pig-type soul beast spirit ring? Yu Xiaogang looked at Yu Xiaogang in disbelief. He truly couldn't understand why Yu Xiaogang would have such an idea. That's right, a pig-type soul beast's spirit ring. From Liu Sanpao appearance, it's clearly a pig-type martial soul. Attaching a pig-type soul beast spirit ring to it is what suits it best. Yu Xiaogang said, holding a thick illustrated book. In the years before reaching rank 10, Yu Xiaogang had been researching spirits, spirit rings, and spirit beasts. Thus, he was now confident that his knowledge of spirits had surpassed many people. Initially, when researching things like spirits and spirit rings, Yu Xiaogang felt very depressed. After all, the family's inherited spirit was a dragon, while his own was a pig. The difference was so great that he found it unacceptable. However, as he researched pig-type soul beasts, Yu Xiaogang gradually began to grow excited. Because he discovered that pig-type soul beasts were not as weak as he had imagined. In many spirit beast forests, generally speaking, what is the most feared spirit beast? Is it large spirit beasts like tigers, lions, or bears? Or hidden hunters like venomous snakes, scorpions, or spiders? Or perhaps rare but exceptionally powerful beings like Jiao dragons or true dragons? None of the above. In many spirit beast forests, the most feared spirit beasts are often pig-type soul beasts. Yu Xiaogang had seen a report stating that in the annual spirit hunts across major spirit beast forests, the number of spirit masters who died at the hands of pig-type soul beasts was often the highest. Seeing this information, Yu Xiaogang was ecstatic. Since pig-type soul beasts were so powerful, wouldn't he, who possessed the pig-type martial soul Liu Sanpao, have a promising future? Thus, Yu Xiaogang conducted deep research into pig-type soul beasts and selected an ideal spirit beast for himself. Thunder-fanged pig, this is what I've chosen for my first soul ring. It fits Liu Sanpao species, and since your spirit is the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon, father, I believe Liu Sanpao must have a thunder attribute. Furthermore, I've looked at a lot of data on spirit masters who obtain the thunder-fanged pig as their first soul ring, the spirit abilities they gained were all quite good. Their early-stage combat power is very strong. Yu Xiaogang confidently told his father about his chosen spirit beast, waiting for the other to praise him. Unfortunately, Yu Xiaogang waited for a long time without receiving any praise from Yu Yuanzhen. He looked at Yu Yuanzhen with some confusion, only to see the other staring at the data he provided with a deep frown. Xiaogang, I still feel it would be safer for you to choose a dragon-type spirit beast for your first soul ring. The difference between a pig and a dragon is too great. Are you really sure your spirit is definitely a pig? Hearing Yu Yuanzhen's words, Yu Xiaogang summoned Liu Sanpao. Looking at this spirit that had caused him to be ridiculed for so many years, Yu Xiaogang gave a cold snort. Father, you've always felt Liu Sanpao is a dragon, but where does it show even a single dragon trait? On the other hand, it has traits similar to a pig: its cry, those big ears, and its body shape. With these characteristics as evidence, how can you have the nerve to say it's a dragon, father? Watching Liu Sanpao waddle around on the ground, Yu Xiaogang couldn't help but clench his fists. If possible, Yu Xiaogang also wanted Liu Sanpao to be a dragon, but all its traits told him that Liu Sanpao was not a dragon, but a pig. Even so, adding a dragon-type spirit beast's spirit ring to a pig-type martial soul should be fine, right? Yu Yuanzhen wanted to persuade Yu Xiaogang further. He once again recalled the moment of Yu Xiaogang's martial soul awakening. That roar, he just didn't think it could have come from a pig. Father, the thunder-fanged pig, is the spirit beast I've finally selected after years of thought and research. I believe my choice definitely won't be wrong. Yu Xiaogang looked directly at Yu Yuanzhen, his gaze showing no intention of backing down. He had already set his mind on his choice for the first soul ring, and no matter how others tried to persuade him, he would not change it. Chapter 39, Yu Xiaogang's Soul Hunting Operation. The White World Spirit Hall. Just like yesterday, the various priests of the Elder Hall, Yu Xiaogang and Bibaidong were present, now joined by Hu Liena, who was there to watch the fun. A group of people gathered together just to see today's content. Looking at the crowd around him, Yu Xiaogang rested his forehead in his hand. Hu Liena aside, High Priest, can't you all just watch from your own Elder Hall? Why must you come to my place to watch? Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Qian Daily revealed a faint smile. Well, naturally, because you, the person involved, are right here. If there's something we don't understand while watching the Heavenly Curtain, we can ask you directly since you're nearby. Beside him, Gold Crocodile Douluo nodded in agreement. Exactly. Besides, I feel like this kind of thing is only interesting when watched with a group of people. The other priests immediately echoed Gold Crocodile Douluo upon hearing this, expressing that they loved this lively way of watching. Looking at the group of priests around him, who had become somewhat unruly, Yu Xiaogang was speechless. It was truly a once-in-a-lifetime sight. A group of people whose strength stood at the very peak of their entire Douluo continent. Even among titled Douluo, they were the pinnacle, actually acted like this in private. If the grassroots personnel of Spirit Hall saw this, their eyes would probably pop out. All right, Xiaogang, if the High Priest and the others want to watch, let them. It doesn't get in the way anyway. But then again, attaching a pig-type spirit beast's spirit ring to a little dragon. Bibaidong glanced at Yu Xiaogang, a feeling of wanting to complain, but not knowing how to start suppressed in her heart. One can only say that following him was truly 8 lifetimes of bad luck for that little dragon. Yu Xiaogang finished the thought Bibaidong was about to say. Yes, exactly, I feel a bit sorry for the little dragon over there. Such a powerful spirit, yet it encountered such a master. Bibaidong looked at the Yu Xiaogang on the Heavenly Curtain with a face full of contempt. His talent was poor to begin with, yet he was unwilling to listen to the advice of the strong. It's no wonder a person like this couldn't compare to her husband. The video continues. After a period of dispute, Yu Yuanzhen still insisted on attaching a dragon-type spirit ring to Liu Sanpao. However, Yu Xiaogang also firmly believed that he was the one who was correct. The two were at a deadlock, so Yu Xiaogang developed the idea of going to obtain a spirit ring himself. Spirit beasts like the thunder-fanged pig could be found in the Thunder Forest, not far from Blue Lightning City. He only needed to spend some money to hire surrounding spirit masters to help him obtain a spirit ring. No sooner said than done. The next day, while Yu Yuanjun was busy with sect matters, Yu Xiaogang quickly packed his bags, took some money from home, and set out on the path to obtain his first soul ring. Leaving the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, Yu Xiaogang traveled quickly through the towns, his goal aimed straight for the Thunder Forest. Before long, Yu Xiaogang successfully arrived at the edge of the Thunder Forest. Here, he hired a soul hunting squad for the price of 1,000 gold coin. Looking at the soul hunting squad won over by his money, Yu Xiaogang lifted his chin proudly. Hiring these people to help him obtain a spirit ring would only happen this once. Once he successfully obtained his first soul ring and proved his conclusion correct, the next time he needed a spirit ring, there would be powerful experts from the family to help. In the future, he would grow into a powerful expert step by step under his own theories. Poor talent. Talent couldn't limit him. He would prove to everyone that even with incredibly poor talent, he could change everything with his wisdom. Thinking of this, Yu Xiaogang glanced at the soul hunting squad, who were beaming with joy after receiving the 1,000 gold coin. HMPH, a bunch of blind fools who can only see the money in front of them, having no idea what they are missing out on today. Glancing contemptuously at the group he had hired, Yu Xiaogang's heart had already begun to fantasize about a day in the future when his name would be famous throughout the Douluo continent. By that time, information about him would surely be spread by everyone. When these few people saw his news then and looked back on today's events, they would surely be full of regret and beat their chests. To have failed to properly curry favor with a powerhouse in his youth, what a massive loss that would be. All right, let's set out. Seeing the team still celebrating, Yu Xiaogang spoke up to remind them. All right, rest assured, customer, a thunder-fanged pig right, we guarantee your satisfaction. The members of the soul hunting squad stepped forward with smiles upon hearing Yu Xiaogang's words. They naturally noticed Yu Xiaogang's high and mighty attitude and his look of disdain toward them. But what did that matter? This was 1,000 gold coin. According to the market price here at the Thunder Forest, normally joining a soul hunting squad and acting with them would cost 10 gold coin a day. If an individual directly hired a whole squad to serve him, the price was generally 50 to 500 gold coin. If someone could offer 500 gold coin, the required spirit beast would already be very dangerous, with an age around 4 to 500 years. For someone like Yu Xiaogang, who was obtaining his first soul ring, to directly offer 1,000 gold coin was simply a once-in-a-century occurrence. For this kind of person, if they could, they would even be willing to treat him like a deity. After some preparation, the soul hunting squad brought Yu Xiaogang to the entrance of the forest. The soul hunting squad was about to present their warrant, but unexpectedly, Yu Xiaogang stepped forward first and took out a medallion. Upon seeing the medallion, the soldiers responsible for checking warrants immediately showed respectful expressions. "Boss, what kind of medallion is that?" A member of the soul hunting squad asked their captain curiously. "Hiss, I thought he was just a rich guy, but it turns out his status is also extraordinary. That thing is a high-level medallion from Spirit Hall. It's not something ordinary people can possess. I heard that there aren't many in the entire Douluo continent. It's only because we're close to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect that we know about these things," the captain of the soul hunting squad said with a solemn expression. "Captains, you mean?" "Exactly, that guy is most likely from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, and someone with an extraordinary background at that. I just don't know why someone like him would hire us to help him hunt for a soul." The soul hunting squad discussed fervently behind Yu Xiaogang's back. Yu Xiaogang, up ahead, felt a surge of pleasure as he saw the solemn expressions on the faces of the soul hunting squad members. Luckily, he had secretly taken out his father's pontiff's token. Otherwise, if he had to use the soul hunting squad's warrant to enter the soul hunting forest, wouldn't he have been looked down upon? This current situation of shocking everyone fit Yu Xiaogang's expectations perfectly. However, Yu Xiaogang was still somewhat dissatisfied. "Right now, I'm holding my father's pontiff's token. I'm still borrowing my father's prestige. Just wait, sooner or later, I will have a pontiff's token of my own. I believe that day will not be too far away. Chapter 40, Yu Xiaogang's Fear of Death and Cowardice. During the period when Yu Xiaogang's group entered the Thunder Forest to search for spirit beasts, they did not encounter any trouble that was too difficult to handle. After all, to be valued by Yu Xiaogang, who came from the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, this soul hunting squad was not ordinary itself. After searching for a while in the forest, Yu Xiaogang's group encountered another soul hunting squad. A thin and weak spirit master was sitting cross-legged in front of the corpse of a dire wolf. Looking at his appearance, he was clearly absorbing a spirit ring. The captains of the two soul hunting squads stepped forward to greet each other. Since they both did soul hunting business here in the Thunder Forest, they naturally knew each other. While the two soul hunting squads were conversing, Yu Xiaogang looked curiously at the spirit master, who was absorbing the spirit ring. Having never left the sect before, this was the first time he had seen a spirit master absorbing a spirit ring. And just like that, we killed this wolf. We originally planned to just leave, but then that guy stepped up and said he wanted to absorb this wolf's spirit ring. We advised him not to do it at the time. That wolf's age was close to 400 years, definitely exceeding the limit of what he could absorb. But the guy wouldn't listen and insisted on absorbing it. We had no choice but to let him try. The conversation between the two captains reached Yu Xiaogang's ears. He raised an eyebrow and glanced at the spirit master, who was absorbing the spirit ring. Washed-out clothes with patches, clearly a commoner background, combined with a weak body, yet he was attempting to absorb a spirit ring nearly 400 years old. Overestimating himself. Yu Xiaogang looked at that spirit master with contempt, a mocking sneer curling his lips. A 400-year first soul ring is not something just anyone can absorb. It would only be appropriate for someone like himself, with a body tempered through long-term training, to absorb it. The outcome did not exceed everyone's expectations. Not long after, that commoner spirit master's body indeed began to fail because the age of the spirit ring was too high. But once the absorption of a spirit ring begins, it must be carried through to the end unless a powerhouse intervenes to interrupt it. The soul hunting squad had heard that powerhouses capable of interrupting the spirit ring absorption process were at least at the level of a spirit saint or spirit Douluo. There were no powerhouses of that level among their group. So the crowd could only stand at a distance, quietly watching as the spirit master's face contorted in pain from being unable to withstand the spirit ring. Soon blood flowed from the spirit master's mouth, then his nostrils, then his skin. In the end, the spirit master was dyed completely red with blood. The onlookers could no longer tell where his blood was even flowing from. Finally, with a muffled thud, the spirit master spat out a large mouthful of blood and fell straight to the ground. He failed. Yes, he failed. The members of the soul hunting squads watching shook their heads, their faces not even showing much of an expression. They had seen far too many spirit masters from poor backgrounds who, wanting to stand out, chose spirit rings that exceeded their limits of endurance. The result for these people was often like this, being burst by the spirit ring and falling at the very first step of becoming a spirit master. When they first started in this business, they would still try to persuade those who overestimated themselves. But many times, their persuasion would only be met with hostility from those people. Therefore, having experienced it many times, they no longer had the heart for it. All right, we've rested enough. Let's continue searching for spirit beasts. The captain of the soul hunting squad came to Yu Xiaogang's side, calling him to prepare to set out again. It was only then that he noticed Yu Xiaogang's eyes were staring fixedly at the dead spirit master, his mouth agape in disbelief. He's dead. Yu Xiaogang's voice stuttered slightly. Of course, we've seen far too many overconfident fools like him. They think they're some kind of lucky star on a whim, but in the end, these people die the fastest. The soul-hunting captain glanced disdainfully at the dead spirit master, then looked at Yu Xiaogang with a smile. Of course, you are different, guest. You come from a great family and have had good things to help temper your body since childhood. According to our estimation, If it were you absorbing that 400-year spirit ring, it would definitely be easy. The soul-hunting captain wasn't just talking nonsense. Being in this line of work, they had basic experience. They could make a rough judgment of how many years of a spirit ring someone's body could withstand just by checking them over. Throughout the subsequent process of searching for the thunder-fanged pig, Yu Xiaogang remained in this state of being lost and dazed. His mind constantly replayed the scene of that commoner spirit master covered in blood, finally dying from his body bursting. He was thinking, what if he, like that spirit master, failed to withstand the spirit ring and ended up dying from his body bursting? Then, wouldn't that mean his visions for the future, proving himself and slapping the faces of those who mocked him, would all fail to be realized? No, I absolutely cannot die. Only by staying alive can I prove myself. Yu Xiaogang kept muttering to himself in his heart. After searching for 2 days in the Thunder Forest with no results, at noon on the third day, the soul-hunting captain walking at the very front suddenly had his eyes light up. He walked forward and inspected a pile of droppings on the ground ahead. Found it. After poking at the still fresh droppings, the soul-hunting captain nodded to his teammates, and everyone immediately entered a combat state. A moment later, everyone found the target of this trip, the thunder-fanged pig. And there were 2 of them. This soul-hunting squad truly lived up to being veterans. After a round of combat, the squad members suffered almost no losses and captured the 2 thunder-fanged pigs, placing them before Yu Xiaogang. Guessed, these are the thunder-fanged pigs you wanted. There are 2 here. One should be just at 400 years, and one is just shy of 300 years. Which one do you plan to take? The soul-hunting squad captain still had that same smiling face. 1,000 gold coin were as good as his. This was practically the easiest business he had done in all his years in the industry. I want this for... Yu Xiaogang was about to say he wanted the 400-year thunder-fanged pig, but in his mind, the image of that commoner spirit master dying from his body bursting involuntarily surfaced. The spirit ring that guy absorbed was only close to 400 years, and it still caused his body to burst. What about this one of his that exceeded 400 years? The soul-hunting squad captain at the side seemed to see Yu Xiaogang's fear and spoke up to remind him. Guest, according to my suggestion, absorbing this 400-year one might be a bit difficult for you, but you basically won't die from your body bursting like that commoner spirit master. Your foundations are completely different, so there's no need to worry too much. The soul-hunting squad captain's words were quite sincere. However, when these words fell into Yu Xiaogang's ears, he only heard a few words. Difficult body bursting. As a result, Yu Xiaogang no longer dared to look at that 400-year thunder-fanged pig, and instead pointed to the one that was just shy of 300 years. I choose this one. Chapter 41, Yu Xiaogang, releasing the first spirit ability, naturally requires a solemn occasion. I choose this one. Yu Xiaogang's choice left the members of the soul-hunting squad looking at each other in bewilderment. I guessed, given your physique, you could completely try a 400-year spirit ring. You're not like that spirit master from before who died from his body exploding. The captain of the soul-hunting squad, seeing that Yu Xiaogang paid a lot, rarely spoke up to advise him. But unfortunately, at this moment, just one look at that 400-year thunder-fanged pig would make Yu Xiaogang recall the scene of that commoner spirit master's body exploding. He couldn't die. If he died, how could he become a powerhouse in the future, prove himself, and slap the faces of those who mocked him? In any case, the thunder-fanged pig he chose was also close to 300 years old. Who knows how many spirit masters had a first soul ring that wasn't even 100 years old, yet they eventually became powerhouses. A 300-year spirit ring isn't bad. Thus, Yu Xiaogang firmly pointed at the thunder-fanged pig that was just shy of 300 years, his voice devoid of any hesitation. Just this one. White World Spirit Hall. My God, to be afraid of death to this extent. For someone like this, it would be better not to become a spirit master. It's better to stay at home under his father's protection and be a parasite who just eats, drinks, and waits to die. God Douluo looked at Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain with a face full of disdain, his voice brimming with contempt. Among people like them who could become titled Douluos, who wouldn't try their best to push the age limit of the spirit rings they obtained. When searching for spirit beasts, they always chose those whose age approached their limit or even exceeded it slightly. Someone like Yu Xiaogang, who clearly could absorb a 400-year spirit ring, but chose one less than 300 years because of a fear of death, was truly a first for Gold Crocodile Douluo. For someone like this to still talk about becoming a powerhouse. If someone like Yu Xiaogang could also become a powerhouse, then what did that make those of them who cultivated so hard? The other enshrined priests nearby heard Gold Crocodile Douluo's words, and their faces also showed expressions of agreement. If he's so afraid of death, why bother cultivating? Being an ordinary person would be so much better. With Yu Yuanzhen's status, he could have easily let him live a comfortable life forever. On the other side, Hu Liena and Zhu Zhuqing carefully glanced at Yu Xiaogang, only breathing a sigh of relief after seeing that he didn't look uncomfortable. Having such a counterpart is truly a disgrace to Yu Xiaogang. In my opinion, it would be best if he died early. With his personality, heaven knows how many more embarrassing things he will do in the future. Bibi Dong stared at Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain with a face as cold as frost. If she could, she really wanted to transmigrate to the parallel world and kill that Yu Xiaogang. At the thought of such a guy, who disgraced her husband, living perfectly fine in a parallel world, Bibi Dong couldn't help but feel her killing intent surge. All right, his embarrassment doesn't affect me. After all, my video will be played later. Or is it that you have no confidence in me, Donga? Yu Xiaogang smiled and pulled the frost-faced Bibi Dong into his arms to comfort her. However, while looking at the images on the heavenly curtain, Yu Xiaogang's eyes couldn't help but narrow. He had expected the Grandmaster to be embarrassing, but he hadn't expected him to be so pathetic. It really wasn't for nothing. Before I transmigrated, the clips I saw were filled with mocking bullet comments about him. The video continues. Under Yu Xiaogang's persistence, the members of the Soul Hunting Squad ultimately said nothing, allowing Yu Xiaogang to finish off the thunder-fanged pig and absorb that nearly 300-year spirit ring. While Yu Xiaogang was absorbing the spirit ring, the members of the Soul Hunting Squad nearby looked at him with disdain flashing in their eyes. As expected of someone from a large family, truly delicate. HMPH, there are extraordinary people from large families too. Someone as afraid of death as him is a first for me. What a waste of his good body. If I had his physique back then, I would have definitely chosen a first soul ring of over 400 years. Sigh, even if he's afraid of death and chose a low age limit, it's still close to 300 years, which is who knows how much better than us. One can only say the heavens are unfair, allowing this kind of person to have a starting point far beyond ours. Knighthood. The members of the Soul Hunting Squad discussed animatedly, their words mostly filled with disdain for Yu Xiaogang and curses at the unfairness of the heavens. Soon, Yu Xiaogang completed the absorption of the spirit ring. He summoned Liu Sanpao and called forth his spirit ring. A yellow spirit ring floated around his body. Looking at this spirit ring, a satisfied expression appeared on Yu Xiaogang's face. Very good, the first step is complete. Next is to continue cultivating and researching. I believe that with my intelligence, I will surely be able to forge a bright path. Yu Xiaogang clenched his fists, his eyes full of ambition. Guest, since you've already obtained your first soul ring, would you like to test your first spirit skill? The captain of the Soul Hunting Squad stepped forward and asked with a curious face. It was his first time seeing Yu Xiaogang's spirit, so he was somewhat surprised that this thing was actually a spirit. This was followed by curiosity about what kind of spirit ability such a spirit would possess. Test the first spirit skill. The captain's words stirred Yu Xiaogang's heart. A spirit ability must be used personally to understand its effect. At this moment, Yu Xiaogang was also very curious about what his first spirit skill was. However, glancing around, especially at the faintly disdainful looks from the Soul Hunting Squad, Yu Xiaogang immediately lost the desire to display his first spirit skill. No need, I'll research it slowly after I return. Yu Xiaogang rejected the captain and gave everyone an arrogant look in return. This is my Yu Xiaogang's first spirit skill. its first release naturally requires a sufficiently solemn occasion. Forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. When the time comes, I must bring my father. He always thought Liu Sanpao was a dragon-type spirit before. HMPH, this time I will prove that my, Yu Xiaogang's, ideas are the correct ones. My vision is the path that will truly allow Liu Sanpao to grow. Yu Xiaogang snorted coldly in his heart. He had already made up his mind to perform his first spirit skill in front of his father and give him a massive shock. To use facts to tell him that his research on Liu Sanpao was the correct one. That he possessed a talent for spirit research that was beyond ordinary people's imagination. Yu Xiaogang even imagined the scene when he performed his first spirit skill in front of his father's face full of shock, and then turning red with excitement. When that time comes, his father would surely tell everyone in the sect about his information. In that way, everyone would also understand that he was no longer a piece of trash, but a future martial soul research great master. Those who had once mocked him would certainly regret having offended him. At the thought of such a scene about to happen, Yu Xiaogang couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of expressions everyone will have then. Chapter 42 Yu Yuanjun. I'll be the target for Xiaogang's spirit ability. Black World, Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. Looking at Yu Xiaogang's confident expression on the heavenly curtain, Yu Yuanjun was at a loss for words. Back then, when Yu Xiaogang first unleashed his spirit ability, it truly gave him quite a shock. That scene was something he found difficult to forget even now. He originally thought that by hiding this memory in the deepest part of his mind, he wouldn't think of it again, but he didn't expect the heavenly curtain to broadcast that scene once more today. So for a moment, Yu Yuanjun truly wished he could just faint away. He glanced at the second elder beside him. Elder, can you give me a punch and knock me out? The second elder glanced at Yu Yuanjun, his lips twitching a couple of times, but in the end, he didn't say a word. Did you think you were the only one who wanted to faint right now? Sect Master, let's face reality. Yu Xiaogang is an indelible disgrace to our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Originally, only a few people knew about this. Now, it's great. The entire Douluo continent is going to find out. Our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect will have no face to show anyone in the future. The Grand Elder leaned back in his chair, looking completely dejected. This elder, who cared most about the sect, was now completely helpless. Sigh, what a disaster. With a sigh, everyone slumped into their chairs. Whatever happens, happens. The video continues. Under the escort of the Soul Hunting Squad, it didn't take long for the group to successfully leave the Thunder Forest. Upon arriving outside the forest, Yu Xiaogang's posture immediately became even more arrogant. The captain of the Soul Hunting Squad wanted to step forward to make some small talk to build rapport and make it easier to earn gold coin from him in the future, but he was directly ignored by Yu Xiaogang. Looking at Yu Xiaogang's behavior, the members of the Soul Hunting Squad were fuming. Someone even asserted that a person like Yu Xiaogang was destined to never achieve anything great in the future. Unfortunately, their words were ignored by Yu Xiaogang, who was impatient to prove himself. After renting a carriage, Yu Xiaogang returned to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, only then learning that because of his disappearance, Sect Master Yu Yuanjun had been flying into a rage and was sending people everywhere to search for him. HMPH, that's what you get for not acknowledging my theories. Hearing that his father was searching for him, Yu Xiaogang gave a self-satisfied HMPH. He knew his father cared about him as a son. He could tell from his willingness to give him his own resources to use. But Yu Xiaogang didn't need Yu Yuanjun's concern. What he wanted more was to prove himself to Yu Yuanjun, to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, and even to the entire Douluo continent. To prove his scholarship, to prove his ability, and to prove his extraordinary nature. And right now, demonstrating his spirit ability was the first step. Thus, Yu Xiaogang walked with his head held high, striding with a swagger, and returned to his home. Xiaogang, are you all right? Where have you been these past few days? The moment he entered the house, Yu Yuanjun's concerned voice reached his ears. Unfortunately, Yu Xiaogang did not feel that concern. Father, I have successfully obtained my first soul ring. Yu Xiaogang triumphantly gave a brief account of his experience going to the Thunder Forest, hiring a soul hunting squad, and finally successfully obtaining a spirit ring. In other words, you really obtained the spirit ring of a thunder-fanged pig as your first soul ring. Yu Yuanzhen asked after hearing Yu Xiaogang's words. That's right, this is the most suitable spirit ring for me. Yu Xiaogang still firmly believed that his theory could not be wrong. Forget it. The spirit ring has already been obtained. It's too late to say anything now. So what is your first spirit skill? Yu Yuanzhen sighed, then adjusted his emotions and asked with a slight bit of anticipation in his heart. Perhaps, just perhaps, his son really was right. His spirit was a pig-type spirit, so the thunder-fanged pig truly was the most suitable spirit beast for him. And he truly possessed extraordinary talent in theoretical research. HMPH, my spirit ability is very extraordinary. Since it's you, Father, I'll show it. I wouldn't easily demonstrate it to ordinary people. Yu Xiaogang said with a smirk. Hearing Yu Xiaogang's words, Yu Yuanzhen's eyes lit up. Seeing his son like this, his spirit ability must be extraordinary. Could it be that he was really right? Quick to the training ground, show me your spirit ability. Yu Yuanzhen excitedly pulled Yu Xiaogang toward the training ground at his residence, wanting to see for himself exactly what Yu Xiaogang's spirit ability was like. Just then, a voice came from outside the door. Sect Master, we have some matters to discuss with you. As the voice came, several figures walked into the room one after another. It was the 3 elders of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. It's the 3 elders, what matters do you have? We do have some matters, but seeing you like this, Sect Master, what are you planning to do? The Grand Elder glanced at Yu Xiaogang and then asked. Didn't Xiaogang go missing before? I just found out that this child went to obtain his first soul ring and has just returned. Yu Yuanzhen explained. He already obtained his first soul ring. What is the spirit ability? The second elder nearby stepped forward and asked. He had always been deeply impressed by Yu Xiaogang's separate beast spirit. We were just about to go to the training ground to demonstrate it. Then let's go together. It's a good chance for me to re-evaluate whether this spirit of his actually has potential. The second elder wanted to go along with Yu Yuanzhen. Currently, Yu Xiaogang had been using Yu Yuanzhen's cultivation resources, but it couldn't go on like this forever. Today was a good time to re-evaluate Yu Xiaogang's potential. The second elder had already made up his mind. As long as Yu Xiaogang showed even a hint of potential, he would turn a blind eye and approve the resources for him. Xiaogang, what do you think? Yu Yuanzhen looked at Yu Xiaogang, wanting to confirm if he was confident enough to pass the test of the sect's elders. Then let's go together. It's the perfect time to prove myself to everyone. Yu Xiaogang had no fear at all. In his view, his first spirit skill was bound to be incredibly powerful, and there was absolutely no possibility of failure. Good! Yu Yuanzhen gave a cheer, and then headed to the training ground with the group of elders. Arriving at the training ground, Yu Yuanzhen took the initiative to act as the opponent, providing a target for Yu Xiaogang to unleash his skill. Then, under everyone's gaze, Yu Xiaogang summoned his spirit, Liu Sanpao. The next second, a yellow spirit ring shone. Come witness my first spirit skill. Yu Xiaogang mobilized his spirit power and activated his first soul ring. The light of the spirit ring shone even brighter. At the same time, Liu Sanpao eyes gleamed. As it took a deep breath, Liu Sanpao body rapidly expanded and floated into midair. Just as Yu Yuanzhen was anticipating what kind of spirit ability Liu Sanpao would release, suddenly, Liu Sanpao turned around and pointed its butt at him. With a muffled sound, a blast of yellow gas erupted from behind Liu Sanpao, completely swallowing the expectant Yu Yuanzhen. Soon, Liu Sanpao's spirit ability finished its release, but the training ground fell into a deathly silence. Chapter 43. Enraged Yu Yuanzhen furiously whips Yu Xiaogang. A deathly silence permeated their entire training ground. Yellow mist enveloped Yu Yuanzhen's entire body, making it impossible to see his expression clearly at this moment. but the expressions of the three elders were displayed plain as day. At this moment, the three elders' eyes were nearly popping out of their sockets. They had considered 1,000, 10,000 possibilities, but they never could have imagined that Yu Xiaogang's spirit ability would be such a thing. How could it be such a thing? His first spirit skill is actually a fart. How could there be such an absurd thing in this world? Indeed, how could there be such an absurd thing in this world? White World, Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon Sect. As the sect master, Yu Xiaogang sat stiffly in his chair, not moving for a long time. His eyes were wide, his mouth agape, and his gaze was unable to move away from the cloud of yellow mist, enveloping his parallel world self in the heavenly curtain for a long time. At this moment, Yu Xiaogang felt incredibly fortunate. He was fortunate that the Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain was not his son. If he had such a son, he feared his old face would be completely lost. Cough, cough, it's fine, it's fine. The Grand Elder to the side also let out the same sigh of relief as Yu Xiaogang at this moment. He now felt somewhat sorry for the sect master in the heavenly curtain. His son Yu Xiaogang had confidently claimed his spirit ability was extremely powerful. As a father, Yu Xiaogang was also willing to act as a target for the other to display his spirit ability. And then Yu Xiaogang served him a giant heap of trouble. Originally, such a thing would only be known to the few people present, but now it's ruined. With the heavenly curtain broadcasting it like this, their entire Douluo continent now knows. In the future, if Yu Xiaogang appears before people, the first thing they think of will no longer be that he is a titled Douluo standing at the peak of the Douluo continent. Nor will it be that he is the sect master of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, one of the upper three sects. Instead, they will first think, that's the Yu Xiaogang who was enveloped by his son's first spirit skill, a fart. Just thinking about it made the Grand Elder's heart tremble. If such a thing really happened, their Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect would become the laughingstock of their entire Douluo continent. It's fine, the Xiao gang on our side is promising. Ha ha ha, back when Xiao gang was young, I even felt he lost the sect's face because of his appearance. Looking at it now, Xiao gang has been very successful. At least he didn't swallow the sect master with a fart like that fellow in the heavenly curtain. The second elder, who usually had a stern face, was now smiling like a blooming flower. The Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain had truly brought him too much shock. When Xiao gang returns, we must reward him properly. After a long silence, Yu Xiaogang finally said with a face full of emotion. He really needed to thank his son for saving his face as a father. Black World Shrek Academy. Hiss who. Watching the scene in the heavenly curtain where he had once lost face, Yu Xiaogang's eyes were blood red, and he kept taking deep breaths. However, even so, he could not calm his emotions. Seeing this, Flender wanted to comfort Yu Xiaogang, but when he thought of the dignified Thunder Douluo being enveloped by his good brother's fart, he lost the idea of comforting him. Putting himself in his shoes, if he were the Thunder Douluo, how should he react at this moment? He probably would even have the mind to kill Yu Xiaogang. A titled Douluo is destined to become the laughingstock of the Douluo continent from now on. And the culprit who committed such a deed was actually his good brother. Flender had a premonition that in the future, when he went out and announced his title as part of the Golden Triangle, what would greet him then would not be looks of respect, but eyes of ridicule and mockery. Thinking this, Flender immediately decided that in the future, at least for this period of time, he could no longer use the title of the Golden Triangle when going out. If Flender, Yu Xiaogang's good brother, felt this way, it went without saying for those who weren't familiar with Yu Xiaogang. The fact that they didn't laugh out loud at this moment was partly to be considerate of Flender, and partly because they were afraid that if they laughed, the Thunder Douluo would come knocking on their door. Even Tang San, when looking at Yu Xiaogang at this moment, couldn't help but have a hint of slight disgust in his eyes. Why hadn't he felt his teacher's first spirit skill was so unbearable before? The video continues. Time passed minute by minute in everyone's silence. A moment later, the yellow mist dissipated somewhat, and everyone could finally see Yu Yuanzhen's figure. He stood in place like an iron tower, his whole body stiff and his expression blank. He didn't understand why such a thing would happen. Didn't that unfilial son say, with a face full of confidence, that his spirit ability was extraordinary? Didn't he want to prove himself to everyone? Is this what he used to prove himself? Is this the shock he prepared to bring to the sect? Ah, right, this thing indeed can bring shock to the sect. Can't you see that several elders are now so shocked they can't even close their mouths? Ha 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 ha, this is my Yu Yuanzhen's son, the good son for whom I didn't hesitate to give my resources so he could grow up. Yu Xiaogang, you unfilial son. Yu Yuanzhen roared, pulled his belt from his waist, infused it with spirit power, and charged straight at Yu Xiaogang, who was still standing there in a daze. Crack! With a whip, Yu Xiaogang finally snapped out of his daze. How can this be? How can my spirit ability be like this? I've clearly seen countless spirit masters with the thunder-fanged pig as their spirit ring, and their spirit abilities are all very powerful. Yu Xiaogang roared in disbelief. It would have been better if Yu Xiaogang hadn't spoken. Saying this only made Yu Yuanzhen's anger flare up even more. I'll give you thunder-fanged pig. Crack. Zar. I'll give you obtaining the first soul ring without my permission. Crack. Ah, father, what are you doing? What am I doing? I'll beat you to death, you unfilial son, for making me lose face all day long. Crack, crack, crack. Ah, father, I was wrong, please spare me. Spare you? If I spare you, will you continue to make me lose face in the future? Crack, 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 cracks. No, don't, father, I'm about to be beaten to death by you. It's better if you die, it saves you from continuing to make me lose face. The belt in Yu Yuanzhen's hand swung into an afterimage. Because spirit power was added to the belt, it was exceptionally painful when it whipped across Yu Xiaogang's body. Yu Xiaogang screamed and howled. He wanted to run away, but Yu Yuanzhen grabbed him by the collar, making it impossible to escape even if he wanted to. Thus, he could only roll all over the ground while being whipped by Yu Yuanzhen, begging for mercy. But his pleas for mercy instead continuously provoked Yu Yuanzhen's anger, leading Yu Yuanzhen to strike even harder. The three elders on the side watched the scene of Yu Yuanzhen whipping Yu Xiaogang and did not step forward to stop it. Even the Grand Elder's face showed a look of satisfaction. Serves him right. Ignoring the words of elders and acting clever, he deserves this. The sound of Yu Xiaogang's howling and Yu Yuanzhen's whipping echoed in the training ground. This loving interaction between father and son interpreted filial piety and fatherly love to the fullest. Chapter 44 Yu Yuanzhen, completely ruined. Don't know how much time passed, until the three elders were yawning from watching, only then did Yu Yuanzhen stop his movements. And at this time Yu Xiaogang was already paralyzed on the ground, at his last breath. Seeing Yu Yuanzhen's face full of angry Kai, the second elder on the side shook his head. These elders still knew how much Yu Yuanzhen cared about Yu Xiaogang. However, today Yu Yuanzhen, who cared so much about Yu Xiaogang, was so life Kai that he directly laid hands on him and beat Yu Xiaogang into this state. From this, one could see how life Kai Yu Yuanzhen was this time. Yet, this was all brought upon by Yu Xiaogang himself. This made the group of elders unable to even say a few words to dissipate the life Kai, even if they wanted to. After all, if they had such a son, they would definitely be even more life Kai than Yu Yuanzhen. Taking one last look at Yu Xiaogang, who had been beaten to his last breath, Yu Yuanzhen gave a cold snort and directly left. He had held back when he struck. This beating would be unforgettable for Yu Xiaogang for a lifetime, but it would not take his life. Although Yu Xiaogang had made him lose all face, this was all he could do. He couldn't exactly cripple him or even kill him, could he? Leaving behind a cold snort, Yu Yuanzhen left the training ground, and the three elders followed, leaving only Yu Xiaogang lying on the ground. Feeling the pain all over his body, Yu Xiaogang's eyes were filled with resentment. Resenting his father, resenting his family, and resenting this unfair fate. Afterward, several family members carried Yu Xiaogang back home, once Yu Xiaogang had healed from his injuries, he once again returned to the state he was in after his martial soul awakening. Locking himself in his room, neither eating nor drinking, and not stepping a single foot out of the door. Only this time Yu Yuanjun no longer spoiled him. Eat or don't eat, it's best if he starves to death. Leaving those words, Yu Yuanjun completely stopped paying attention to Yu Xiaogang. And after experiencing several days of seclusion, Yu Xiaogang discovered that no one cared about him. Eventually, after a bout of smashing things in his room, he finally reappeared before people again. The clansmen knew that Yu Xiaogang had obtained his first soul ring, but the spirit ability of this first soul ring had enraged the sect master, who directly gave him a beating that required a long time to recover from. Thus, seeing Yu Xiaogang again, most people were curious about just how bad his spirit ability was to make the sect master so enraged. The bolder ones spoke up directly, inviting Yu Xiaogang to a duel, wanting to see his spirit ability with their own eyes. But every time someone invited Yu Xiaogang to a duel, Yu Xiaogang would clench his fists and glare at the other person. Finally, accompanied by a breakdown-induced roar, he would flee in a panic. But even so, Yu Xiaogang did not give up on his cultivate. Even if the first spirit skill was already like that, he believed that as long as he devoted himself to researching theory, he could find a way to change everything. Just like that, several more years passed, and the now over 20-year-old Yu Xiaogang finally reached level 20, reaching the time to obtain his second soul ring. This time, Yu Yuanjun only nodded when he learned of Yu Xiaogang's breakthrough, and then continued with his own business. For this son, he no longer held any expectations. The first spirit skill was already like that, and his innate talent was insufficient. If there was no heaven-defying opportunity in the late stage, it would be difficult for him to even break through to level 30. Under these circumstances, the second soul ring would perhaps be his last spirit ring. Therefore, his soul hunting truly failed to raise even a bit of expectation. But after all, Yu Xiaogang was still his son, so Yu Yuanjun ultimately still sent a spirit saint to help him obtain his second soul ring. Having received this result, Yu Xiaogang was naturally dissatisfied. He was angry that his father cared so little for him as a son. Even for a major event like obtaining a spirit ring, he was actually unwilling to even show his face. But at the thought of the violent beating after obtaining the first soul ring, Yu Xiaogang did not dare to run to Yu Yuanjun to display his dissatisfaction. So in the end, under the leadership of that spirit saint, he still obtained his second soul ring. It was still a farting skill. Although compared to the meaningless farting of the first spirit skill, the second spirit skill had a hypnotic effect. But what decent person uses farts to hypnotize an opponent? Except for those low-intelligence spirit beasts, others would probably hold their breath the instant Yu Xiaogang performed his spirit ability. In any case, after using the second spirit skill, Yu Xiaogang's emotions collapsed once again. The spirit saint who had taken Yu Xiaogang to obtain the spirit ring informed Yu Yuanjun of the situation with a bewildered face. Having received the news, Yu Yuanjun let out a long breath and slumped into his chair. He's completely ruined. Black World Spirit Hall. Bibi Dong looked at the despondent Yu Xiaogang in the heavenly curtain. At this moment, even someone as love-brain as Bibi Dong actually couldn't say words like everything Yu Xiaogang did was right. As the supreme pontiff of the Spirit Hall and a titled Douluo-level powerhouse, Bibi Dong also had her own insights into cultivate. Bibi Dong also agreed with Yu Yuanjun's previous thought that Yu Xiaogang's first soul ring should have chosen a dragon-type spirit beast. But Yu Xiaogang insisted on his own ideas and chose a pig-type soul beast, ultimately leading to him possessing such a first spirit skill. Should she pity Yu Xiaogang? If it were her own disciple who didn't follow her design and privately added a spirit ring for themselves, ultimately leading to a similar situation occurring. Bibi Dong was certain that without a second word, she would sever the master-disciple relationship with that person. No, at this time Xiaogang is not yet mature, his theory hasn't been perfected yet. Once he comes to the Spirit Hall and reads the Spirit Hall's records, he will truly complete his transformation and become the Grandmaster of Theory he is today. Yes, that's right, that's it. Bibi Dong murmured to herself, as if comforting herself, and as if hypnotizing herself. The video continues. The obtained second spirit skill was still farting, and Yu Xiaogang once again locked himself in his room. During this period, he constantly pondered where exactly he had gone wrong. Why did heaven treat him like this? At the same time, he discovered something even more terrifying to him. That was, his cultivate speed, which was originally as slow as a turtle's crawl, had now become even slower. After a month of meditation, his spirit power had hardly moved at all. This discovery filled Yu Xiaogang's heart with terror. He still wanted to become a powerhouse and prove himself. He couldn't just stop his footsteps like this. However, reality would not change because of his unwillingness. The cultivate speed was as slow as it should be. So Yu Xiaogang flipped through the family's books, wanting to find something that could change all of this. But the final result was still nothing. It must be because the family's information is too scarce. I need to find more information to help my research. Having flipped through the family's information, such a thought immediately sprouted in Yu Xiaogang's heart. And a place with more information than the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, in the entire Douluo continent, there was probably only one place. Spirit Hall. Immediately, the idea of going to the Spirit Hall sprouted in Yu Xiaogang's mind. The second part has finished playing. Take a break. The contrast subject, Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang, is about to start playing. Chapter 45, Yu Xiaogang. My son Xiaogang has the potential of a titled Douluo. Part 2 has finished broadcasting. Take a break. The comparison subject, Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang, is about to begin. Seeing the prompt on the heavenly curtain, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. It's finally over. One couldn't blame them for thinking so, even though Yu Xiaogang's past involved Thunder Douluo Yu Xiaogang and the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Furthermore, scenes like Yu Xiaogang violently beating Yu Xiaogang earlier had been quite satisfying for the crowd. But they were in the Douluo continent, a place where strength was respected above all else. Here, strength was the most fundamental standard for measuring a person. Consequently, a fellow like Yu Xiaogang, who was destined to achieve little in the future, naturally failed to hold people's interest. In contrast, Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang shared the same background and the same talent as Grandmaster Yu Xiaogang. Yet in the end, that version of him had counterattacked his fate to become a titled Douluo. For the many spirit masters on the Douluo continent with first level or second level innate soul power, he was practically a beacon of light. They desperately wanted to know the process of Yu Xiaogang's counterattack to see if they could apply the same process to themselves. Black World Shrek Academy. Several young people wearing the attire of the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School arrived there. Young Miss, the sect master and the others have sent us to take you back. The leader approached Ning Rongrong and spoke with a respectful expression. Although Ning Rongrong was someone who hadn't grown up yet, she had the protection and love of two Douluos, Bone Douluo and Sword Douluo. Therefore, even though Ning Rongrong was known as the Little Witch in the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile School, no one dared to provoke her. I don't want to go back, I want to stay here and watch. Ning Rongrong glanced at the people who came to fetch her, then at the Shrek Academy crowd watching the heavenly curtain in the distance, and spoke. The reason she was unwilling to leave Shrek Academy, besides the fact that it housed many geniuses with exceptional talent, was because Yu Xiaogang, the subject of the heavenly curtain's broadcast, was right here. Although Ning Rongrong didn't show much respect to this grandmaster verbally, her heart felt differently. Ultimately, he was one of the protagonists of the current heavenly curtain. This phenomenon held many unknowns, who knew what changes might occur in the future. Thus, Ning Rongrong felt it was necessary to stay by Yu Xiaogang's side to keep an eye on him, or at the very least, send people to watch him. This, but young miss, because of the heavenly curtain, the sect master feels the future of the Douluo continent might be very dangerous. Then let Father, Grandpa Sword and Grandpa Bone come here. Just tell them that in this Shrek Academy, there is Yu Xiaogang, the protagonist of the heavenly curtain comparison, and a whole group of geniuses. Ning Rongrong waved her hand with an impatient look. Just in terms of geniuses with full innate soul power, this tiny academy has 3. Everyone else is at level 7 or above. With such a large group of wild geniuses, could the sect really just pretend they didn't see them? Ening Rongrong's words left the group speechless. After all, recruiting geniuses was a mandatory course for every internal member of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Then we shall return to report to the sect master. Go on, go on. Ening Rongrong bid farewell to the sect members, then skipped back to the Shrek Academy crowd and sat down beside Zhu Zhuqing and Zyro Wu. The sect wants to take you back. Yeah, but I refused. Hearing Zhu Zhuqing's question, Ning Rongrong answered directly. Zhu Zhuqing wasn't surprised by Ning Rongrong's answer. Anyone from a major power was aware of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School's situation. Although this Shrek Academy was crude, its members were all extraordinary. It would be stranger if Ning Rongrong actually left. I heard the Dean and that Grandmaster discussing last night that the Academy's funds might be insufficient, and it can't provide a suitable environment, so they're planning to move. There's a high probability they'll go toward Heaven Du City. Zhu Zhuqing shared the information she had accidentally overheard last night with Ning Rongrong. Going to Heaven Du City, that's great. Ening Rongrong looked pleasantly surprised. She was very familiar with Heaven Du City. It was very close to the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School. Moreover, the first prince of the Heaven Du Empire, Zhu Qinghe, was her father's disciple. If they really went to Heaven Du City, she would be even more confident in her ability to recruit the Shrek Academy crowd. I need to tell father and the others about this in advance. Ening Rongrong pondered the future in her mind. Just then, the break ended, and the heavenly curtain began broadcasting images again. Ning Rongrong immediately set her thoughts aside and focused on watching the screen with her sisters. The video continues. It was another early morning. Yu Xiaogang was practicing with his father, Yu Yuanzhen, on the training ground. Although Yu Xiaogang's current skills were still very poor in Yu Yuanzhen's eyes, which powerhouse didn't start from these basics. Not to mention, the current Yu Xiaogang possessed a foundation that even Yu Yuanzhen couldn't help but be shocked by. Through repeated assessments by himself and the sect elders, they determined that after absorbing the 10,000-year whale glue, Yu Xiaogang's physical strength had already surpassed that of an ordinary level 20 spirit master. This strength meant that with Yu Xiaogang's current physical constitution, he could directly attempt a first soul ring of over 800 years. An 800-year first soul ring. This meant his second soul ring could directly be at the 1,000-year level. The third soul ring could be 5,000 years, and the fourth spirit ring could be 10,000 years. Yu Yuanzhen didn't dare imagine what level his son could reach in the future with such a foundation. At the very least, his talent of innate level 1 soul power could no longer restrict him. Now Yu Yuanzhen could even say with pride, "My son Yu Xiaogang has the potential of a titled Douluo." Slap bang thud. After another round of sparring, with a flick of Yu Yuanzhen's hand, Yu Xiaogang collapsed completely to the ground, not moving for a long time. Ha ha ha, alright, today's practice ends here. Also, the practice sessions for the next few days are suspended. Rest well these few days to replenish your energy and spirit. After that, it will be time for us to go obtain your first soul ring. Yu Yuanzhen laughed heartily as he looked at the exhausted Yu Xiaogang. Only after a practice session could he see his wise and strong son looking so disheveled. Understood. Lying on the ground, Yu Xiaogang waved his hand twice to show he understood. Other than that, he truly didn't want to move a single muscle. Seeing Yu Xiaogang's state, Yu Yuanzhen left the training ground laughing, leaving Yu Xiaogang alone to recover. Lying on the ground and looking at the sky, Yu Xiaogang was also extremely nervous deep down. The first soul ring, the starting point of whether he could change his fate against the heavens. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. It was also his starting point in contacting the system of spirits. Although he had read countless cases regarding spirits and spirit abilities in books, when it was finally his turn, it was inevitable to feel nervous. I hope my first spirit technique is a relatively powerful one. Yu Xiaogang thought to himself. Regarding spirit abilities, he actually had his own ideas, but those ideas would have to wait until they were truly put into practice to be understood. Chapter 46, Encounter in the Stardew Great Forest. In the early morning a few days later, a carriage drove out from the main gate of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. On the carriage sat the father and son duo, Yu Xiaogang and Yu Yuanjun. For such a major event as his son obtaining his first soul ring, Yu Yuanjun naturally had to accompany him. Especially since his son needed a dragon-type spirit beast without any additional attributes, and with a bloodline as pure as possible. Such spirit beasts were hard to find. For instance, in the Thunder Forest near Blue Lightning City, although there were dragon-type spirit beasts, they all had the Thunder attribute. Therefore, Yu Yuanjun was taking Yu Xiaogang to the Stardew Great Forest to find a suitable spirit beast. After boarding the carriage and waiting for it to stabilize slightly, Yu Xiaogang closed his eyes and began to meditate. Seeing this hard-working appearance, Yu Yuanjun, who had originally planned to read a couple of travelogues or similar books, felt a bit embarrassed to even look. It is often said that a father is a role model for his son. But in front of Yu Xiaogang, he, as a father, hadn't set much of a good example. On the contrary, because he often saw Yu Xiaogang's diligent efforts, Yu Yuanjun felt too embarrassed to rest, and his own time spent on cultivation increased as well. So in the case of this father and son, it was actually the son who set the example for the father. If word of this got out, people would probably laugh themselves to death. Shaking his head, Yu Yuanjun eventually entered a state of meditation, just like Yu Xiaogang. And so, the journey to the Stardew Great Forest passed with both Yu Xiaogang and Yu Yuanjun cultivating. Of course, it wasn't that they did nothing but cultivate. Some rest and recreational activities were still necessary. Burying oneself in bitter cultivation without end isn't good. Balancing work and rest is the righteous path. In short, after a long journey, Yu Xiaogang and Yu Yuanjun arrived at the outskirts of the Stardew Great Forest. Lush green trees appeared before the two of them. Looking out from a higher vantage point, the layers of verdant green looked like an endless ocean. From time to time, the roar of a wild beast or some strange cry would echo from the distance, startling the birds nesting in the woods. Yu Xiaogang glanced at the dark, cavernous forest ahead and couldn't help but marvel. It truly lived up to its reputation as the largest soul beast forest on the Douluo continent, far more terrifying than the Thunder Forest he had visited before. Farther, legends say that many 100,000-year soul beasts are hidden within the Stardew Great Forest. Just how many is many? Yu Xiaogang asked curiously. Such a thing, I'm afraid only the heavens know. Yu Yuanjun shrugged. Exactly how many 100,000-year soul beasts were in the Stardew Great Forest had always been a matter of curiosity for spirit masters in the outside world. There was once a group of people who wanted to uncover this secret, and of course, they also coveted 100,000-year soul bones and 100,000-year soul rings, so they assembled a team to explore deep into the Stardew Great Forest. The lineup of that team was quite luxurious. 1 titled Douluo, 2 spirit Douluos and 3 spirit saints. With such a lineup, logically speaking, even if they encountered a 100,000-year soul beast, they would certainly have the strength to fight. Even if they couldn't win, they could scatter and flee, returning safely to bring back information about the Stardew Great Forest. But as it turned out, that team entered the depths of the Stardew Great Forest and never appeared again. Neither seen alive nor dead, they vanished completely without a trace. So since then, the depths of the Stardew Great Forest have become a place feared and dreaded by everyone. Even the clear sky Douluo Tang Chen, who was invincible on the continent back then, and the angel Douluo Kaian Dailiu of Spirit Hall, never ventured into the depths of the Stardew Great Forest. Though it's also possible they did go in, and we just don't know about it. Yu Yuanjun shared some of the Stardew Great Forest's secrets with Yu Xiaogang. These matters were never recorded in books, and only existed in the idle chatter of the powerhouses of the Douluo continent. Thus, while listening to these secrets, Yu Xiaogang showed an extremely interested expression. Yu Yuanjun also felt a rare sense of pride for sharing knowledge that Yu Xiaogang didn't know. Not long after entering the Stardew Great Forest, Yu Xiaogang witnessed why it was a paradise for spirit beasts and a forbidden land for humans. Every short distance they walked, they would see a spirit beast. Of those that appeared before them, most were 100-year ones, and there were quite a few 1,000-year ones as well. It was only because Yu Yuanzhen would release his titled Douluo aura to scare them away every time he saw these spirit beasts. Otherwise, they would have lost count of how many battles they would have fought along the way. The Stardew Great Forest is just like this. Spirit beasts are everywhere. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many soul beast forests across the Douluo continent, raising low-level spirit beasts for commoner spirit masters to obtain spirit rings. Having those commoner spirit masters come to the Stardew Great Forest for their first soul ring would carry too much risk for too little reward. It's simply not worth it. Yu Yuanzhen walked ahead, explaining things to Yu Xiaogang. Father, I've always felt that the cultivation method on the Douluo continent is a bit strange. If human spirit masters want to become stronger, they must kill spirit beasts to obtain spirit rings. If one day all the spirit beasts are killed off, wouldn't spirit masters be unable to become stronger anymore? Yu Xiaogang voiced the doubt that had lingered in his mind ever since he began to understand the cultivation system of the Douluo continent. Rest assured about that. The number of spirit beasts consumed by spirit masters is negligible. The vast majority of spirit beast deaths are always due to internal predation among spirit beasts. A spirit master only needs 9 spirit rings in a lifetime. Even with twin spirits, adding them all up only makes 18. But a spirit beast, it has to eat every day. And every time it eats, it has to hunt and kill another spirit beast. There are even some bloodthirsty spirit beasts that kill a couple of others just for fun when they have nothing better to do. Compared to the spirit beasts themselves, the number consumed by us human spirit masters is undoubtedly far, far too small. Yu Yuanzhen said with a laugh, and hearing this, Yu Xiaogang finally had an epiphany. Thinking about it that way, it makes sense. Having understood, Yu Xiaogang no longer dwelled on the issue. Over the next few days, Yu Xiaogang and Yu Yuanzhen continued to roam the Stardew Great Forest. During this time, they encountered many dragon-type spirit beasts, but these beasts either had the wrong age or possessed attributes. In any case, none were the spirit beast Yu Xiaogang needed. Just as Yu Xiaogang thought they would have to keep searching like this, at noon that day, the sound of wild beasts roaring suddenly reached his ears. Accompanying it was a shout filled with both shock and anger. "Oh no, stop them!" Hearing this voice, Yu Yuanzhen immediately quickened his pace. Is someone fighting spirit beasts? From the sound of it, there are quite a few spirit beasts. Yu Yuanzhen and Yu Xiaogang quickly assessed the situation. Let's go take a look. Yu Yuanzhen picked up Yu Xiaogang with one hand and then moved swiftly toward the direction of the sound. When they arrived, Yu Xiaogang couldn't help but be shocked by the scene before him. For at that moment, a large pack of spirit beasts was besieging 2 spirit masters. And behind the 2 spirit masters was a young girl who was currently absorbing a spirit ring. Chapter 47, Yu Xiaogang, Bibai Dong and the Wind Baboon. 2 spirit masters were in front, resisting a frantic siege from a group of spirit beasts, while a young girl hid behind them, absorbing a spirit ring. Old dragon, can you still hold on? With so many 10,000-year soul beasts, don't go and die by accident. HMPH, you'd better worry about yourself. I specialize in defense, it won't be that easy to kill me. The 2 spirit masters fended off the spirit beasts in front of them, with circle after circle of spirit rings revolving around their bodies. 9 rings each, they were actually 2 titled Douluos. Although Yu Xiaogang had always known his father Yu Yuanzhen was also a titled Douluo, this was his first time witnessing a battle between titled Douluos. So for a moment, Yu Xiaogang couldn't help but hold his breath. Those are nether wolves of around 50,000 years, and death demonic beasts of around 60,000 years. Hiss, there's even an 80,000-year red-scaled snake, and a 90,000-year golden crystal tiger. Good heavens, this scale is comparable to a small beast tide. How did they provoke so many 10,000-year soul beasts? While Yu Xiaogang was watching the titled Douluo's battle, Yu Yuanzhen, who was beside him, glanced at the spirit beasts besieging the two and couldn't help but gasp. 80 and 90,000-year spirit beasts, these were meant to serve as a titled Douluo's 9th spirit ring. To be safe, every titled Douluo must invite a large group of helpers when obtaining their final spirit ring. Among them, there is no shortage of experts who have already become titled Douluos. And now, seeing such a large group of high-level spirit beasts besieging 2 titled Douluos was truly a rare sight. However, after glancing at the girl sitting on the ground absorbing a spirit ring, Yu Xiaogang understood the difficulty these 2 titled Douluos faced. If not for this girl, they would have left long ago with their strength. Xiaogang, get to that girl's side, we're going to help. Yu Xiaogang observed the situation on the field and immediately tucked Yu Xiaogang under his arm, leaping forward to join the battlefield. Who's there? Yu Xiaogang's sudden entry gave the 2 fighting titled Douluos a shock. They almost attacked directly in Yu Xiaogan's direction. However, upon seeing Yu Xiaogan's figure, the 2 titled Douluos, especially the one called Old Dragon, immediately beamed with joy. Ha ha ha, it's you old dragon. He, both our spirits are dragons. Who exactly are you calling Old Dragon? Yu Xiaogang threw Yu Xiaogang to the girl's side and then joined the battle with a loud laugh. Originally, with 2 titled Douluos, one attacking and one defending, the battle had been quite difficult. But with Yu Xiaogan's addition, the situation immediately changed. 2 attackers and 1 defender, especially since among the 2 attacking titled Douluos was Yu Xiaogang, the sect master of one of the upper 3 sects and the holder of the world's #1 beast spirit, the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. It could be said that Yu Xiaogan's joining directly turned the original disadvantage into an advantage. In the gaps between the 3 titled Douluos fighting, they even had time to trade barbs. Meanwhile, Yu Xiaogang, who had been thrown to the side by Yu Xiaogang, curiously observed the girl who was absorbing the spirit ring. She had a fair and delicate face. Though she was still young, one could already see how stunning her appearance would be. Her jet black hair fell over her shoulders like a waterfall, and her slender eyebrows twitched from time to time due to the surrounding sounds or the spirit power within her body. With just one look, this girl left a deep impression on Yu Xiaogang's heart. Of course, it was only that, after all, for the current Yu Xiaogang. The most important thing was still to cultivate and become stronger. So next, Yu Xiaogang began to watch the battle of the 3 titled Douluos. Although their speed was so fast that he couldn't quite see their movements clearly. Watching the special effects was also quite nice. Unfortunately, accidents always come quickly. While Yu Xiaogang was watching the battle, a sudden burst of hurried footsteps came from behind him. Yu Xiaogang turned quickly, pulled out his personal weapon, and stared solemnly at the rear. Not far away, a winged baboon about 1 meter tall with brownish-yellow fur, exceptionally long arms, and sharp nails was lunging toward them. A winged baboon of about 10 years. Yu Xiaogang judged the winged baboon's age with just a glance, and then breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was only a 10-year winged baboon. If it were a 100 or 1,000-year one, he couldn't guarantee he could defeat it. Gripping the long sword in his hand, Yu Xiaogang took a deep breath. The moment the winged baboon lunged, he used an upward slash to cut off its forward momentum. The interrupted winged baboon hissed and charged at Yu Xiaogang, frantically swinging its arms as if its sharp claws wanted to tear his body apart. Unfortunately, Yu Xiaogang's current body, strengthened by whale glue, was not inferior to a spirit master above level 20. He sidestepped, dodging the winged baboon's attack, and swung his sharp sword, leaving a large wound on the winged baboon's belly. Feeling the injury to its abdomen, the winged baboon immediately realized that Yu Xiaogang was not an object it could provoke. So it immediately turned its focus toward the girl sitting on the ground, still absorbing the spirit ring. HMPH, cunning fellow. Yu Xiaogang gave a cold snort and rushed quickly toward the girl. Although Yu Xiaogang didn't know the girl who was absorbing the spirit ring, since his father had already chosen to help, there was no need for him to be so calculative. Helping was the right thing to do. With his powerful physical fitness, Yu Xiaogang actually arrived in front of the girl before the winged baboon, despite starting a step behind it. Immediately after, Yu Xiaogang circulated his spirit power, focused it on his arm, and then took a stance. Swish! In the next second, sword light flashed before Yu Xiaogang, slicing through the wind baboon's body. The powerful force actually cut the wind baboon in half at the waist. Specks of blood splattered onto Yu Xiaogang's face, adding a touch of coldness to his youthful features. Right at this moment, the girl who had been sitting quietly absorbing the spirit ring, Bibi Dong, finally finished her absorption and opened her eyes. Then, the sight of Yu Xiaogang standing before her, his back turned as he slew the wind baboon with a single sword strike, entered her vision. Thud! The wind baboon's body, cut into two pieces, fell to the ground and made a sound. At the same time, a similar sound echoed within Bibi Dong's heart. And it did not stop for a long time. Chapter 48, Black World, Bibi Dong, Envy, Jealousy and Hatred. White World, Spirit Hall. Seeing the scene on the heavenly curtain, everyone's gaze was fixed on Bibi Dong and Yu Xiaogang. Qian Dailiu and the others were somewhat surprised. They hadn't expected them to have known each other for so long. Hu Liena's reaction was much simpler. She put herself in their shoes, if it were her absorbing a spirit ring, and the first thing she saw upon opening her eyes was someone standing in front of her, having just slain a spirit beast that wanted to attack her. She would probably have a deep memory of that scene too, right? So this is how Teacher and Dragon God His Eminence first met. Hu Liena looked at Bibi Dong and Yu Xiaogang beside her. At this moment, Bibi Dong, the protagonist of the memory, couldn't help but recall the scene from back then. She actually remembered clearly what happened while she was absorbing her spirit ring. She knew that spirit beasts had attacked during that time, and they were all 10,000-year soul beasts. The situation had been extremely dangerous. She also knew that someone else had joined the battle later, and another person had stayed by her side. She was even more aware of that suddenly attacking spirit beast. At that time, Bibi Dong, who had been moments away from finishing the absorption, had thought she was going to die just like that. But right at that moment, the person beside her had blocked the spirit beast's attack for her, giving the already despairing Bibi Dong a new lease on life. It was exactly then that she completed the absorption of her spirit ring, and upon opening her eyes, what greeted her was the scene of Yu Xiaogang slaying the wind baboon. How could such a scene not leave a deep impression on her? Thinking about it now, the scene back then really makes one nostalgic. Bibi Dong leaned on Yu Xiaogang's shoulder, filled with emotion. If such things hadn't happened, perhaps she and Xiaogang wouldn't have been able to become a couple. One could only say that sometimes, fate is such a clever thing. Is it really that nostalgic? Yu Xiaogang looked at the heavenly curtain, somewhat puzzled. From his perspective, he had just killed a 10-year wind baboon. Even though he hadn't obtained a spirit ring at the time, it was just a casual action. What was worth being nostalgic about? Forget it, let's keep watching. There's no talking to a cultivation-obsessed blockhead like you. Bibi Dong pouted and gave Yu Xiaogang a playful punch. On the other side in the Black World, Spirit Hall. They met that long ago. Bibi Dong stared blankly at the scene on the heavenly curtain, filled with envy as she repeatedly imagined herself in that place in her mind. Imagining herself absorbing the spirit ring, being protected by Xiaogang. Imagining herself opening her eyes and seeing Xiaogang's sturdy back before her. Although it was just imagination, before this, she had never had similar memories to look back on regarding her younger years. What kind of future will their early meeting bring them? Bibi Dong began to fantasize in her heart. If it were before, Bibi Dong wouldn't have had much interest in the video about Dragon God Douluo Yu Xiaogang. What she wanted to see was her own Xiaogang. But from this moment on, she didn't think so anymore. The current Bibi Dong desperately wanted to know what exactly happened between her and Xiaogang in the parallel world. Meeting so early, could they be together? Thinking this way, Bibi Dong naturally thought of the reason why she couldn't be with Xiaogang. As soon as she thought of the person who blocked her and Xiaogang from being together, endless hatred welled up in Bibi Dong's heart. Then came a sense of dejection. The version of me in the parallel world probably has a similar ending. At that time, Xiaogang and I couldn't resist a titled Douluo. The video continues. Gazing at the boy about the same age as her, a flash of curiosity crossed Bibaidong's eyes. It was also at this moment that Yu Xiaogang turned his head and glanced at Bibaidong. Their eyes met. "Father, I've finished absorbing it over here." Without another word, Yu Xiaogang directly raised his voice to call for his father. The next second, 3 figures landed one after another beside the 2 of them. "Withdraw." The 3 of them exchanged a glance, then Yu Yuanzhen scooped up Yu Xiaogang, and the titled Douluo called Old Dragon, without even cancelling his martial soul true body, directly let Bibaidong sit on his back. The group left the area quickly just like that. They didn't know how long they had been running, but by the time they stopped, everything around them had become completely quiet. "All right, we are far enough now, let's take a rest," Yu Yuanzhen suggested, and the 2 titled Douluo nodded. "Really thanks to you this time, brother Yu. If it weren't for you, we would have had a tough time." "Haha, what's this? With our relationship from adventuring across the continent back in the day, could I just watch while you were in danger?" Catching his breath, Yu Yuanzhen began chatting with the 2 titled Douluo. During this time, Yu Yuanzhen also introduced Yu Xiaogang. The titled Douluo called Old Dragon, titled Dragon Scale, a level 91 titled Douluo, was a good brother Yu Yuanzhen had met when he was adventuring across the Douluo continent. The other titled Douluo's title was Iron Armor. Both of them were titled Douluo affiliated with Spirit Hall. And Bibaidong, whom they were protecting, was the disciple of the current Supreme Pontiff, who had come to the Stardew Great Forest to obtain her second soul ring. Upon learning this information, Yu Xiaogang was somewhat surprised. After all, Bibaidong looked about the same age as him, but she had already come to obtain her second soul ring. This talent was truly enviable. "By the way, brother Yu, is this your youngest son?" During the conversation, Dragon Scale Douluo curiously looked Yu Xiaogang up and down. News about Yu Xiaogang had spread throughout the upper circles of the entire Douluo continent. Dull and foolish after birth, only looking like a normal child before his spirit awakening, and then being the son of a titled Douluo with a malignant mutation of his spirit, and having an innate soul power of only level 1. With so many negative conditions piled onto one child, to be honest, he even felt a bit sorry for Yu Xiaogang. "Ha, that's right, he is my youngest son. I brought him here this time to obtain his first soul ring." Yu Yuanzhen introduced Yu Xiaogang to Dragon Scale Douluo with a smile on his face. When introducing him, the pride in his words was impossible to hide. Listening to the pride in Yu Yuanzhen's words, Dragon Scale Douluo and Iron Armor Douluo looked at Yu Xiaogang with confusion. This child didn't seem to have anything special. Wasn't he considered a disgrace to the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect before? But why could Yu Yuanzhen be so proud when introducing him? The curious Dragon Scale Douluo wanted to inquire about Yu Xiaogang's situation, but unfortunately, Yu Yuanzhen just smiled and said nothing. "Tusk, mysterious. No matter how impressive he is just someone with level 1 innate soul power. Can he compare to our Spirit Hall's future Holy Maiden?" Iron Armor Douluo thought to himself. As for the thoughts of Dragon Scale Douluo and the other, Yu Yuanzhen didn't need to guess to know most of it. He could only say, "You all underestimate my son too much. One day in the future, he will eventually make your jaws drop." Chapter 49, Bibaidong. I have many rumors about the upper 3 sects. Regarding the strengths of his own son, Yu Xiaogang, Yu Yuanzhen naturally could not reveal everything. After all, this involved whale glue. If people from the Spirit Hall found out, he wouldn't be able to buy it anymore. Although the various forces on the Douluo continent were currently quite harmonious, there were still competitive relationships between them. For example, the upper 3 sects had a relatively good relationship, and they united to form a balance against the Spirit Hall. But no one could guarantee that this balance would last forever, so keeping one's trump cards was still very important. While the 3 titled Douluo were talking, Bibaidong, who was nearby, also came to Yu Xiaogang's side. "Thank you for just now." Bibaidong thanked Yu Xiaogang with a grateful expression. If Yu Xiaogang hadn't helped her block that winged baboon that appeared suddenly just now, she might have died at its hands. A dignified disciple of the Spirit Hall's Supreme Pontiff, dying at the hands of a 10-year winged baboon. If that got out, people would probably laugh their heads off. It was just a small effort. Besides, His Excellency Thunder and the others must have been paying attention to the situation here all along. Even without me, they would have been able to save you. Yu Xiaogang said calmly. Let me introduce myself. My name is Bibai Dong, and I am a disciple of the current Spirit Hall Supreme Pontiff. Are you and His Excellency Thunder also here to obtain a spirit ring? Which spirit ring is it? After thanking him, Bibai Dong introduced herself, and then asked curiously. My name is Yu Xiaogang, and I'm here to obtain my first soul ring. Yu Xiaogang raised an eyebrow and glanced at Bibai Dong. A disciple of the Spirit Hall's Supreme Pontiff, protected by two titled Douluo when going out. I guess that even in the Spirit Hall, this Bibai Dong's status is extraordinary. Also, she's about the same age as me, but already getting her second soul ring. How could she be just an ordinary person? Laughing at himself, Yu Xiaogang cheered up. So what if I'm behind now? It's too early to say what the future will be like. First soul ring, is your spirit also a blue lightning tyrant dragon? I heard that your blue lightning tyrant dragon sex spirit is the #1 beast spirit in the world. I don't know how my spirit compares to your family's spirit. Also, I've heard that the reason your sex spirit is the #1 beast spirit in the world is because you often slaughter spirit beasts, drink their blood, and eat their raw meat. Is this all true? If that's really the case, I have a beast spirit too. Do I have to do that as well? As if she had opened a chatterbox, Bibai Dong stared with her big, bright eyes and asked Yu Xiaogang curiously. And when asking whether they slaughtered spirit beasts to drink blood and eat meat, Bibai Dong subconsciously glanced at Yu Xiaogang's lips, as if to confirm whether he had done such things. In the end, when she said she would have to do the same, her pretty little face scrunched up. Hearing Bibai Dong's words, Yu Xiaogang had black lines on his face. Where did you hear such rumors? Drinking blood and eating raw meat. Please, even if we really wanted to eat spirit beast meat, we would cook it first. Raw meat, only those with special fetishes could eat that, right? Yu Xiaogang said, frowning. Especially when thinking about eating raw spirit beast meat, yuck tilde. Yu Xiaogang certainly knew that some people liked to eat that way, but he couldn't do it. It's not true, are you sure? I am absolutely, positively sure. In the future, listen to fewer rumors, many things are simply not credible. But many people say so, for example, that the people of the Clear Sky sect are all slovenly, scruffy, and sweaty big men. The people of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School are all shifty-eyed villains who scheme about this and that all day. Later. And the people of your Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect, besides drinking blood and eating raw meat, like to use martial soul possession, smear spirit beast feces on themselves, and then pretend to be spirit beasts, living like spirit beasts. Later. A few days ago, I even heard rumors in the streets that some spirit masters from the upper 3 sects even want to marry spirit beasts. 6. Yu Xiaogang stared dumbfounded as Bibai Dong rattled off the rumors about the upper 3 sects. He hadn't had contact with the Clear Sky sect or the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, so he wouldn't comment. But he had lived in the sect for all these years. How did he not know that the members of his own Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect had such fetishes? Smearing spirit beast feces on themselves, pretending to be spirit beasts, and living like spirit beasts. Good heavens, were the people spreading these rumors not afraid of being hunted down by the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect? As for the later part about marrying spirit beasts, that was even more ridiculous. This went against human ethics. Which sect on the continent could accept such a thing? Of course, what made Yu Xiaogang feel even more incomprehensible was that Bibai Dong actually knew so many rumors. Sister, you are a disciple of the Spirit Hall's Supreme Pontiff. It's one thing for these things to reach your ears, but how could you actually believe them? Couldn't these things be verified by asking your teacher, the Supreme Pontiff? You believe such ridiculous rumors? Yu Xiaogang, speechless, finally asked with a somewhat twisted expression. But the people on the street were so adamant, they even said that if this information was fake, they would write their names backward. They even swore an oath, so it can't be fake, right? Bibai Dong asked with a serious face. Slap. Yu Xiaogang slapped his face, speechless for a moment. This was just casual gossip on the street, and someone actually believed it. Just how innocent could you be? This information is all fake. No, I can't confirm the information about the Clear Sky sect and the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, but the information about our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect is completely false. We don't drink blood, we don't eat raw meat, and we don't like to smear spirit beast feces on ourselves and live with spirit beasts. And we have no intention of marrying spirit beasts. These are all slanders against our Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect. Yu Xiaogang said every word very seriously. Seemingly to make Bibai Dong believe him, Yu Xiaogang specifically took out some snacks he was carrying from his storage soul tool. Look, this is what we eat on a daily basis. It's not raw meat or anything, right? Handing the snacks to Bibai Dong, Yu Xiaogang wanted her to see clearly. However, what Yu Xiaogang didn't expect was that Bibai Dong looked at the snacks in his hand and actually reached out and grabbed a handful. Picking up a piece and putting it into her mouth, she chewed twice, and Bibai Dong's eyes lit up. Delicious. After saying that, Bibai Dong grabbed the edge of the snack bag and took all the snacks. Then, under Yu Xiaogang's dumbfounded gaze, she said thank you. Thank you for treating me to snacks. When you go to Spirit City, I'll treat you to something delicious too. Chapter 50, Yu Xiaogang, My son's methods are extraordinary. White World Spirit Hall. Put haha teacher, you were actually like this back then. Look, you even made Dragon God His Eminence doubt his life, ha 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 ha. Watching the image on the heavenly curtain of Yu Xiaogang staring, dumbfounded as Bibai Dong happily enjoyed his snacks, Liena finally couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. She truly hadn't expected her teacher to be like this when she was young. Not only did she like listening to street rumors, but she even took them as truth and directly asked the person involved. On top of that, she was completely familiar from the start, even going so far as to naturally rob Dragon God His Eminence. Such a teacher really opened Liena's eyes. You stop laughing. Liena's laughter made Bibai Dong, whose face was already flushed with embarrassment from remembering she had actually done such things, shout out in annoyance. But unfortunately, at this moment, Bibai Dong had no majesty left at all. Her roar only made Liena laugh even more joyfully. Xiaogang, look at her. Unable to stop Liena, Bibai Dong went to Yu Xiaogang's side and buried her head in his chest. Ha ha ha, it's nothing. Looking back now, you were so cute back then, Donga. Yu Xiaogang didn't let Bibai Dong off either. After all, he wasn't the one being laughed at. Even so, Yu Xiaogang quickly racked his brain, trying to remember if he had left behind any embarrassing history of his own. They say that things done in childhood make one want to curl their toes in embarrassment when looking back as an adult. But Yu Xiaogang had never thought that such things, which usually only happened in his world before transmigration, could also occur after transmigration. After thinking for a long time, Yu Xiaogang let out a long breath. As a transmigrator, Yu Xiaogang was already an adult internally when he arrived, so his way of doing things was relatively mature. Therefore, there was a high probability he wouldn't leave behind any Chunabiu-like embarrassing history. Tusk, I didn't expect that even after transmigration, I'd have to worry about my embarrassing history being exposed, truly. Shaking his head, Yu Xiaogang turned his gaze back to the heavenly curtain, his lips curling up uncontrollably. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribers, and share to AI Otaku Studio. While having his own embarrassing history exposed would be awkward, seeing someone else's exposed was a different story. Meanwhile, on the other side, in the Black World's Spirit Hall. Why couldn't I have met Xiaogang earlier? Why wasn't I the one experiencing these things? Bibi Dong held her head in her hands, her expression twisted. As the interaction between the two on the heavenly curtain continued, the jealousy in Bibai Dong's heart grew deeper. She wanted to project herself onto the Bibai Dong on the heavenly curtain and imagine Yu Xiaogang as her own Yu Xiaogang. But the more she projected, the deeper the bitterness and pain in her heart became. Why were others' experiences so beautiful? Why did others have such precious memories after reaching adulthood? But what about her? Her memories with Xiaogang were always confined to this spirit city, lasting for only a short period. How could she spend her whole life relying only on that brief time? Distorted emotions of jealousy spread through Bibaidong's heart, and at the same time, the power of the Rakshasa god within her grew even stronger. Besides the spirit hall, the 7 treasure glazed tile school and the clear sky sect were also quite dissatisfied with this video. What do you mean our clear sky sect is full of unkempt, scruffy-bearded and sweaty men? What do you mean our 7 treasure glazed tile school is full of shifty-eyed villains who plot and scheme all day? Is this how the spirit hall portrays us, members of the upper 3 sects? Truly hateful spirit hall. However, regarding that final mention of marrying a spirit beast, the previously furious clear sky sect suddenly fell silent. After all, someone from their sect had actually done such a thing that defied human ethics. Especially since the person who did it was once a genius their entire sect was proud of. The video continues. Watching Bibaidong take his snacks and enjoy them happily, Yu Xiaogang reached out a hand in a desperate, wait gesture, wanting to say something. The snacks he carried with him were all his favorites. However, seeing Bibaidong's satisfied expression as she ate the snacks, Yu Xiaogang ultimately swallowed his words. It's just some snacks, not anything valuable. Besides, he had plenty more in his storage soul tool, definitely enough for himself. So Yu Xiaogang didn't dwell on the matter any further. After chatting with Bibaidong for a while, Yu Xiaogang emphasized that the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect was not as the rumors described. Of course, Yu Xiaogang didn't bother correcting the rumors about the Clear Sky sect and the 7 treasure glazed tile school. It was better to let their own people handle such things. Before long, Yu Xiaogang and Dragon God Douluo's group of 3 finished their chat and approached Yu Xiaogang and Bibaidong. Xiaodong, we should head back. Coming to Bibaidong's side, Dragon God Douluo's voice was very kind. However, after seeing the snacks in Bibaidong's hand, he glanced at Yu Xiaogang but didn't say anything more. Don't we need to help them? Hearing this, Bibaidong glanced at Yu Xiaogang and Yu Xiaogang. Although she was relatively innocent, she knew the dangers of hunting for spirits. For instance, when she was absorbing her spirit ring earlier, being besieged by a large group of 10,000-year spirit beasts had been a critical situation. If it hadn't been for Yu Xiaogang coming to their aid, given the situation then, the 2 titled Douluo would have certainly sustained significant injuries. Ha, don't worry, with your experience as a lesson, we will act cautiously. Yu Xiaogang laughingly declined Bibaidong's offer to help. Don't worry, Xiaodong, this old fellow's strength is guaranteed, he's much stronger than me. Dragon God Douluo said. Oh's all right then, let's head back. Hey, what I said before still stands. Whenever you come to Spirit City, you can come find me directly. I'll treat you to something good then. Bibaidong nodded, then poked her head out from behind Dragon God Douluo and said to Yu Xiaogang. When I get to Spirit City, I will come visit you. Meeting Bibaidong's expectant eyes, Yu Xiaogang fell silent for a moment before finally giving a promise. Satisfied with the answer, Bibaidong nodded and then left with the 2 Douluo, Dragon Scale and Iron Armor. Just before they left, Yu Xiaogang saw the death stares Dragon Scale and Iron Armor gave him. Those looks were as if he had stolen their daughter, making one shiver. Watching the 3 walk away, Yu Xiaogang also approached Yu Xiaogang with a look of surprise. Good lad, your methods are extraordinary. In such a short time, you've got the Spirit Hall Supreme Pontiff's disciple acting like this toward you, even waiting for you to go to Spirit City, so she can treat you to something good. Ha, not bad, not bad. My son is not only extraordinarily wise in cultivate, but also possesses amazing talent in getting along with girls. Yu Xiaogang teased with a laugh. It's clearly just her being familiar with everyone, what does it have to do with me? Also, father, please be a bit more dignified. You are a titled Douluo after all. What is this behavior? Yu Xiaogang straightened his face and spoke in a serious tone. Unfortunately, his serious attitude only made Yu Yuanzhen laugh even more unrestrainedly. That's it for today's chapter. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, and subscribe to AI Otaku Studio for more stories. Check out my other channel, Infinite Novel Audio, and I'll see you in the next chapter.